What's going on, Jimmy?
What's up? What's going on with you? We up in here?
We up in here, man. We up in here.
Good. Good evening, everybody. What's going on over there? What'd you do? What you got going on?
Oh, man, just getting ready for a good show tonight, man. We got a great guest going on. We got a competition deal going on, man. It's on and popping.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good turnout right here. We got the main guy. We got Mr. Motormouth Maul himself up in here. He's gonna educate us a little bit tonight. So you got your magnifying glass ready. You got your bifocals on. You know what? We should tell him, man. He should have sent us some shirts or something, man. We should have had some shirts that I've been mauled, Motormouth Maul. You know, we should get some free shit. You know.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm having a little bit of echo here. I don't know if it's on your end or mine, but sure must go on, bro.
Yeah, show. Hey, the show must go on. The show must go on. Let me see here.
Don't break a leg, though.
Yeah, I ain't gonna break a leg. Just hang tight. Did that get any better right there?
Perfect right there.
Okay. Well, shucks, we in the loop. So
we in the house, man. We in the house, bro. Good. Man, listen, man. It's been going crazy. The band been crazy the past couple of days since we announced the Northeast Corner Throwdown, and man, I'm hearing a lot of heavy backscatter, man. A lot of heavy backscatter. A lot of guys throwing down, man. They're pulling watts out of where they didn't even have any watts. They're pulling some watts out.
Hey, you know, I was, you know, streaming through some stuff, man. I'm seeing stuff that I haven't seen in, like, I mean, way back when. You know, the level of competition has definitely jumped up. There's a lot of guys wanting to get involved in this. You know, the gates are coming in. A lot of guys, you know, that's wanting to compete in this. They put the gates in there instead of making us have to run the gates down. I just call it like it is. Tony Montana's back. Tony Montana's been out there. Tony was showing out with 147. You know, what's going on, Tony? Everybody in the room. But hey, that's why we kind of, you know, started this and want to bring this out to the limelight. And the way we're doing it is to straight up, man. It was getting boring out there, man. Things was getting complacent. You know, I was hearing a lot of negativity and stuff, man, and now I'm starting to hear some positive stuff. You know, there's questions how this gonna work, how it's gonna turn out. I just say, hey, man, roll with the flow, you know, and enjoy the show.
Absolutely. And hey, you guys, don't forget to like and share. We're in the transition phase right now. We're on Super Bowl skip talkers, but we're going to the hammer down. That echo's driving me crazy, Jimmy. We're going to the.
See here.
Check it out.
I don't know what's going on. If I go any more down, I'm gonna be out of here.
Yeah, Mike got that Maul on you, man. Anyway, you're good right there. But so we could transition into the Big Hammer Show on Facebook, and you could also catch it on YouTube, the Big Hammer Show, and Blackjack TV. Shout out to our producer Bobby Blackjack putting this all together, and it's a work in progress, guys. I know, bear with us. We're dealing with a lot of little glitches here and there, but we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this, and it's gonna be on and popping. But other than that, I'd like to shout out a couple guys that come in the room. Let's see. We got Swamp Weed's up in here. Shout out to Swamp Weed. We got and Jude, our IT specialist, is out there. We got Tony Montana. We got Big John Stud, 123, Illinois. Who else we got over here, man? Put your handles out there so we can shout you guys out. Man, we got a Motor Doctor out of Connecticut. We got Big Shot of Hawaii. We got Controller. Yeah, man. It's just 25 in the corner. I don't want to forget nobody. Yellow Cab. I'm going to shout you guys as you come in. But we're getting the audio stuff. Hopefully I got my internet stuff. By the way, I'm getting it all hardwired in on Tuesday, so it'll be a way better streaming service for me because I know Wednesday was a bit of a mess. But we're going to get it. You know, like I said, this is a work in progress. It's our fifth show. So little by little, we're not professionals, like I said, and we're going to get it on and popping. So what you want to get into, Jimmy?
You know, I mean, We can go both ways, but I'm gonna keep it level headed. We're gonna keep it level headed. We're gonna stay away from that right now. Okay, but listen, so you're gonna give the shoot, or you're gonna turn it over to the viewers. Go ahead and get the viewers popping, get them going on what we spoke about earlier, and then that way at the end of the show we can have our answers and we can have our contestants. That way when we close the show, they'll have the whole hour, they'll have the whole 2 hours to do their thing, to think about things while the show's rolling, and then when we're closing the show out or whatever, boom, we can grab what we got to grab. But
Okay.
hey, shout out to all the guys, man. Keep doing the work. Keep putting the work in, because this thing's taking off. It's looking good. It's off to a real good start. Positive feedbacks from a lot of people. Yeah, hey, if you got to fly your technician in, if you got to sell your house, if you got to sell your car, that's not our problem. Sell that shit and get you a big box. Get you a big box, man. We got this guy building these hammers, man. This shit's real. This shit's happening. This shit is off the chain. Hey, controller, man, we got hammers, man. Hey, listen, the hammer. I don't even know how I'm gonna ship this shit to these guys. I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
how
have
I'm
to
gonna.
ship it ground.
Yeah, ground freight, green. The green truck's gonna have to come to your shit. Hey, but I had a guy, and I'm just gonna say it here one more time. So this is what our plan is. So we're gonna go 12 regions, and after we get through with these 12 regions, then we're gonna take those 12 winners, those 12 region winners, and we're gonna pull a world boss out of those 12 region winners. So it's going to get good. It's going to get interesting. Y'all just keep your belt buckle up. And what's up, Bad Attitude? Shout out to you, Fat Man. What's going on? Hey, but listen. This is all competitive. But at the end of the day, man, this is just a sport. It's just a hobby, and it's for fun. I already see guys talking shit to guys. Guys is belittling guys. Guys is lying, man. You know what I'm saying? These guys is running around and they all over the place. They ain't wanting to admit these ass whoopings. They got friends co-signing tickets and shit for them. We ain't in the penitentiary. You ain't got to do all that shit right here. This 27.025. So just keep it radio and let's have fun and let's get it on down. But yeah, I'd bring it to their attention, Mr. Daytona.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like Jimmy said, it's exciting. We're bringing something excited to the bowl, so everybody could shoot for some. I want to reiterate, this is not the Grammys or anything. This is not for you to kill yourself over. This is something that we just put together to have some fun with. A lot of people are taking it to heart. A lot of people aren't liking the idea. A couple people actually bowed out. So if you said if there's any way to get forfeited in this competition, the only way I think you get forfeited is you take yourself out of it. That's the only way I see it. So there's been a couple guys, maybe two people that said they didn't want to have any part of it. So it's all good, man. Hey, we're doing it for fun anyway. It's not like what we say is set in stone. You know what I mean? It's just a little monthly thing we did for every region, and that's what we're gonna roll. We're just doing it for fun, guys. So with that being said, what I want to do is kind of bring up what we're gonna do with in terms of the competitors in the Northeast corner. Before we bring out Mr. Motormouth Maul, what I want to do is everybody that's in the room right now, we have about approximately 103 people, and more people are coming in. I'll keep announcing it during the show. What I need you guys to do is nominate two people from the Northeast corner. I want everybody to nominate, and I'll get to why. I want everybody to nominate two people from the Northeast corner that you guys have been hearing. By the end of the show, we're going to tally up all the nominations from all the different operators, and we're going to come up with 15. Tomorrow, being that there's going to be so many comments for us to rectify, to solidify the nominations and keep track of the nominations, tomorrow on the Big Hammer Show Facebook page, we will have those 15 competitors lined up. Okay? So next week, on next week's show, we are going to vote 10 of those competitors for the following week. The following week after that, we're going to pull up 4, which we're going to have a live poll to where you click one time, and that's going to be it. I don't care if you leave the room and come back. It's going to be a one-click deal. So if anybody has any questions, you guys let me know. And but that's pretty much it. Tonight, I want you guys to put two names, and you can start doing right when I finish talking. Just nominate two guys at the end of the show, or in other words, tomorrow. I will have all 15 competitors lined up, and we will know who those 15 stations are that'll be competing for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let them take off, and I don't know, man. Let's get right on to the point. I mean, it's going to be a big show tonight. We got a lot of questions. We're going to sit back and we're going to learn a lot. We're going to get educated. You know.
Hey, real
Motor
quick,
Mouth Mall.
real quick before we get into Motor Mouth Mall, because we got a lot of questions for Motor Mouth Mall. The nominee, I want you to be serious with the nominees. You know, I want the nominations. I want you guys that are fighting now. I don't want somebody that's 10 years ago, and then you bring them up to and nominate that person, because we're gonna shout you out. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. We're trying to keep this fun. We're trying to keep it fair. So if you put somebody that ain't relevant, if they were relevant 10 years ago and they ain't relevant today in terms of talking, because they'll always be relevant if there was a legend. But if they ain't talking today, from here on out, from last Wednesday on to the end of the month, they don't count.
Right. No, they got to run, man. They got to run. They got to put the work in, and they got to go out there and they got to put the work in. Period. And it's, there's a lot of guys that we call legends. I know guys that's legends, but that if they haven't been keying, if they take off today and they run for the whole 30 days, man, listen, that's legit. You know what I mean? They're doing their thing. They're putting the work in. But they can't just sit back there and watch the show and their friends or whatever, just pop up in here
Yeah.
and just vote for them and start throwing their name in the mix, because then we just gonna have to be like, hey, that dude ain't been around. That dude's 10-8, but that dude, he ain't been around. He didn't come in here for the 30 days. He didn't put the work in. So you got to chill out with that. So, but other than that, I mean, I don't really see where this can become a pickle. I think it's going to flow smooth.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know them guys been throwing down. I see a fat man getting in here, uh, controller. I see Mr. Good News, Nationwide Good News is in the house too. Yeah,
Nationwide Good News is up
yes,
in here.
sir.
Okay, okay.
Big Lips, man. We got a whole bunch of guys. New kid, whole bunch of guys coming in. So it's going to be exciting. Like I said, just get two nominees. If everybody puts two nominees in here, uh, at the end of the show, I'm going to stay up and count them, tally them up, and I'm going to get the top 15 operators. And I do it that way. So if there's any discrepancy, like, oh, how did you come up? How'd you come up with those numbers? Everybody could go back to the show and look at the comments and see where I got all the nominees from. It's right; it'll be on paper, so it's a good paper trail. So you'll be like, hey, 413, how did such and such get 7 nominations? I'll be like, well, I saw it in the comments, and if you don't believe me, you could just go to the comment section and tally them up yourself. So everything's going to be on paper. Everything is good to go. It's a little tricky to get everything going, but we're getting it done. We're getting it done. Like I said, it's fun. We're having a great time. It's a couple guys didn't really, like it, but like I said, if you don't want to participate, don't participate. And another thing too, there's a couple things that I want to bring up too personally, that I want you guys to put the Watergates on the Hammer page, the Big Hammers page, because some people got offended with other groups thinking that we're taking away from them. I don't want to take anything away from any group. If anything, we'll promote any other group. I'm not. Me and Jimmy are not here to take any glory from anybody. We're just trying to have fun. We're not trying to put anybody's video gates on somebody else's stuff so they could get mad. That's never our intention. Our intention is to come over here and we could all join on a Friday night, kick it out, on a round table and just have some fun and talk a lot of junk, talk technical stuff, get some legends on the radio, interview them, and find out where they come from so we can know the operators as a person, not just somebody behind the microphone. So with that being said, if any groups got offended, I personally apologize to you guys. But we go. Let's get this on and popping. It's done. It's over with. We gonna see who the man is in the northeast corner.
We're gonna find out who the man is. But you know what? How I look at it, I mean, That's why I like flowing with you, because you bring the greatness out of me. You keep me level headed, keep me from going into rat killing. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Hey, Tag, if these guys want to cry, I ain't got no feelings for them. All I'm gonna do is tell them to quit crying and start buying. You know what I mean? But I don't really think it's gonna come to that. Listen, you're not gonna be able to take all the bitching out of the game. This is a very competitive hobby. It's a very competitive hobby, man. And there's a lot of animosity that lays on this table on Channel 6, man, and even on Channel 28, Tracks channel as well. A lot of animosity across the whole board. And man, I don't care how clean you lay something down. I don't care how suave it is. Man, there's always going to be that one person that tries to be negative and bring that negative shit to the table. So I just ain't got no time for it, because if I entertain that, probably going to lose some viewers, bro. But hey, at the same time, bro, I'm not worried about the viewers. I care about quality, not quantity. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's where
Hey,
I'm
but
at with
there's
it.
some guys that know the real Jimmy. They probably love to see the real Jimmy pop off.
They might. Hey, they might. Hey, I got a bulletproof vest ordered. I got that bitch ordered. I got that bitch ordered. It's coming in the mail, and I'm gonna wear it on the show. Because if I catch somebody that ain't doing what they need to be doing and trying to make a mud duck famous, oh man, I'm gonna have
But,
to call it out. I'm gonna have to call them, bro. I'm gonna have to
but
call them.
check
I ain't
this
gonna be
out.
able to hold
Look
myself.
what look look what controller said. He said I would have said double nickel, but he hasn't been out all week.
Double nickel. Hey, I think is. Have you heard that double? I heard double nickel's gonna come back for this competition.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope a lot of guys that have been sitting there dormant just read the mail come back and have fun, man. That's what it's all about. We're trying to get all the old timers back out, all the new guys to throw their hat in the ring, see how they fare out. Because to be the man, you got to beat the man. So if you hear the big guys out there and you think you could run, but you don't dare, you just say, hey, man, just throw your hat in there. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
And by the way, we are not going just based on Watergates. Okay, because there's guys like I know the Northeast corner is getting a lot of Texas, a lot of Louisiana and stuff, and there's a lot of guys from Louisiana and Texas that are in here, so they're able to really get a good feel of what's going on besides the Watergates. Because I'm down here in the southeastern Florida, so I don't really hear. I haven't gotten good Northeast conditions, so the guys in Louisiana and Texas have a really good grasp of what's going on with the Northeast corner. So guys, don't think it's just the Watergates. It's word of mouth and just guys keeping it real with radio, man. It's not a like I'm trying to find the right word, like a popularity contest, man. Just because you like somebody, even if they're 10-8, you get, well, I like him. I'm gonna do it. I don't like that guy, so I'm not gonna vote for him. Let's try to make this real radio 100%, and it's gonna turn out good. But if you have any type of discord towards somebody because you don't like somebody, or you don't like the way they sound, or you don't like their style, or whatever the case may be, throw those emotions away, man, and just go for what they're doing on the band at this time.
Yeah, keep your feelings out of it. This ain't the place. This ain't the time for that. But I had a guy the other day, yesterday, he hit me up last night and he was like, "So you said Florida's gonna run with the Bahamas? You put Florida with the Bahamas?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's what we did. We put Florida's with the Bahamas." How's that gonna work? How's that gonna work? If you read the mail and you keep up with what's popping, when you explain it like you explain it, you got people in Pow Talk. We have people that's ears out there. We're in Pow Talk. I'm in Pow Talk. I'm looking at 5 windows. I'm looking at the gates. I'm hearing Skip. I'm looking what's going on. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm looking to what's happening. So I said, yeah. I said, we got Florida running with the north and the south part of the Bahamas, Nassau in the north side, Freeport and all that. I said, both of those into one region with Florida. I said, yes, sir. Well, how's that going to work? How's that going? I said, well, look what happened yesterday. I said, you had the top side of the sand pile going to Michigan. And I said, you had the Nassau Bahamas, the south side, running with the top side of the sand pile. So, I mean, if I look at it like this. When we put West Virginia and we put Virginia into the Northeast, we seen a pickle and a tiff out of that. But if the dudes in West Virginia and the dudes in Virginia, if they agree that that's the best move, then what has the spectators on the sideline got anything to bitch about? They
Yeah.
just let the party roll. So, listen. So, I mean,
It ain't the Grammys.
it's hey, listen, what's done is done. It's laid out already, you know? So I mean, we're just gonna do it, and we're just gonna have fun with it, and that's just gonna be it. And hey, we got Motor Mouth Maul up in here tonight, man. And I got a lot of information that I want to gain from this guy. This guy is like, I mean, this guy is a story house full, you know. So I'm super excited that he's up in here. He took the time out of his busy schedule to join us. He's backstage right now. He's hanging out. I don't know if he's drinking Hennessy. I don't know if he's got him a Michelob. I don't know if he drinks Hennessy with coffee. Hell, he might put that shit together and make a Boilermaker out of it. I have no idea, but I know he's here. I do know he's here, and he's in the building in
He's
the
in the building.
backstage.
Motor Mouth Mall's in the building. Yeah, man. This guy's a great guy. I can't wait to get him out here. We got a lot of people got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions. We'll have the comment section open. Again, like I said, we're still in the inception of the show. So we were trying to get the phones for today, but unfortunately we couldn't get them this time. So hopefully we get them by the next week or two. But are you ready? You want to bring them out?
I'm ready.
Let's bring the man in. Let's bring the man himself. There he is.
There he goes. What's up, Motor Mouth Maul?
Uh-oh. No audio.
No audio on him. Now this is a first right here, 413. This guy don't got no audio. Are you kidding
Oh
me?
man, yeah. Let me see. Now he's good on my end. Motor Mouth Mall, you might have to come back. You might have to go out and come back in. Yeah. Let's get them going. Let's get the IT girls on them. Let me see.
They are both of them's already working on him.
They're already working on it.
They're already working on him.
For those that know, Motor Mouth Mall is in no, that's Bobby. Well, for those that don't know, Motor Mouth Mall is in Santa something. I'm not even gonna put his place out there, but he's in a very desolate area over there where we actually did a run the other week, and it was perfect. But he has some issues with his internet, just like I had issues with my internet. But we're gonna get him on. We're gonna get him on. But in the meantime, you guys please put your nominees in. 2 nominees. Do it right now while we can. Get your 2 names right now. Start posting them because, like I said, we're gonna keep track of what's going on. And by tomorrow, I'll have it on the Big Hammer Show. Let me see if we get him on. Let me see if we could get him on now. How about it, Mr. Motor Mouth Mall? No audio.
No audio. You know, you're gonna go through things like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you jump in the car or you jump on the plane and you go out to the airport and you fly over there and you set up the podcast and you do all that, the chances of something going wrong is slim to none.
Yeah.
When you Skype and you do things like we're doing, you're just going to have glitches and stuff like this. So there's really
set my
pros and
microphone.
cons.
There you go.
All right.
I got you.
Speakerphone, headset, default. All right.
Don't touch
me.
the
All right, that should be good right now.
Yes. The man himself.
All right.
Hallelujah. There you
Motor
go.
Mouth Mall. Got audio. Look at that. You know, it's all about the audio.
It's all about the audio. Whenever somebody
All it is,
says,
audio.
whenever anybody says Motor Mouth Mall, the first thing that comes to mind is audio. Welcome to the show, man.
Audio. Well,
great.
oh, good to be
Great
here.
to have
Hey,
you
you know,
up
you
in here.
caught me in the middle. I was trying to wire up my intravenous coffee system, and I didn't get that finished, so I've got to resort to this old-fashioned method. But it's as good as the intravenous if you drink it fast enough. So anyway, here I am, and thanks for having me on the show.
Oh man, thanks for being on, man.
So where to start? What do you want to know?
Man, we got so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Listen, whenever, like I said, whenever anybody says anything Motor Mouth Mall, first thing that comes to mind is audio. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you actually specialize in. What's your field of work
Right.
that you actually dig into the audio?
You know, I think there are 2 things that are my favorite aspects or topics in the radio hobby. I mean, obviously, talking on the radio is a given. Obviously, getting enough power to get the job done to the best of my ability within reason is a given. We don't have control over how hard we hit somebody. If Mother Nature chooses to put you in somebody's radio, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it's not in the cards, there's not a doggone thing in the world I can do to make it happen. However, I can enjoy the hobby of antennas, and I can enjoy the attempt at making my radio sound however I want it to sound. And so those are the two things that really kind of sort of get me wrapped up in the game. I like the fights. I prefer to referee fights, and I love talking on the radio. But getting my radio to sound, and granted, sometimes it sounds good. Sometimes it sounds all muffled up and like Kermit the Frog. So no pity say way back when, so it's gone through a lot of renditions. It's going to continue to go through a lot of renditions. But for me, what I hear in my radio and what I wish I could hear from more radios, and what I'm hearing more and more and more now than ever in the past, is big sounding radios. I got 25 in the corn. I don't want to start naming handles, because as soon as I start naming anybody, I'm going to leave somebody out. And if I leave somebody out, they're going to say, wait, you didn't talk about me. So I just want to say I'm starting to hear a lot of big, fat, heavy sounding radios that control my receiver. And I like that. So I want to try to do that myself, and I want to contribute and try to help people get to that point. And so, yeah, for me, audio is probably number one. Antennas are number two. And I love switching antennas. I love trying different antenna concepts. Every antenna seems to have pros and cons. And big ones have a lot of gain. Big ones, you got to move around and point all over the place. This little 47-footer I'm on right now is just, it's awesome. It's fun. It's directional enough to get the job done. I can get somebody out of my radio. I can get somebody into my radio. The Jam Pros didn't work. Anyway, antennas and audio. That's my focus.
Let me jump in here real quick. So I had a little bit of audio problems too. I got people walking up to me that I got
You're having audio problems now. I can't hear you.
Low. You got low.
I'm low?
Yeah. Pump it up. Put that 2-pill on over there.
Let me see.
Yeah.
All right, hang tight. Let me fix this. Man, this is like
foot pedal.
This is
like
this is a bad cycle of phase here. Hold on.
He got a board over there. He was trying to figure it out.
Man, oh man. Hey, y'all don't wait on me. I got a bunch of questions though, so don't go nowhere.
You might have to holler it out, Jimmy. There you go. There you go. Come on with it.
There you go.
Okay, so let me back up off this thing right here.
No, you're not. You need to get in it.
Okay, I need to get in it. Okay, let me pull this thing over here. So
there you go.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
you mentioned Jam Pros, and you mentioned you said something about the phasing or whatever, or the putting something together. So first of all, I want to kind of like back up a minute, and I want for the viewer's point, because there's a lot of guys that are very familiar with you, and there's a lot of guys, that if they don't know you, they're going to know you. So that's how I'm going to look at it, right? So, okay, they're saying I'm still low. Well, I can't do too much more.
Keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to roll with it. Hey, 413, that's what we're going to do. We're going to roll with it.
We're going to keep rolling. Just like when you key your amplifier, if it's smoking, you just keep it keyed down. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come fix it. So, like Motormouth Maul. So, give us a point of view. Let's start, I like to start right here with somebody on your level and your expertise and stuff. So, the man behind the microphone. Who is the man behind the microphone? And what drives you to talk on Channel 6?
Well, I guess I'll start with when radio for me started. I was rummaging through the neighborhood's trash cans as I made my way around the neighborhood on my little Yamaha RD 400 motorcycle way back when, and I saw a trash can that had wires and cool stuff in it. And that trash can happened to have a little old CB radio in it, and it worked. So I grabbed the CB radio out of the trash can. I got it home. I didn't know anything about CB radio, but I knew I needed an antenna, and I knew I needed a power supply. And so I had a train set and happened to have a power supply that I was able to set at 13.8 volts, and that made the radio work. And I went and bought a Shakespeare big stick antenna. And I lived up 1,100 feet above sea level up in the Santa Monica Mountains overlooking Los Angeles, and had a great vantage point. And so I started talking on this radio and realized that there were locals, there were people that were not so local, there were people that were all over the LA basin and then some. And I was having a good time with it, but I realized that there was more to just talking on this radio. I had a keyboard, and I realized I could open up the microphone and I could hook the keyboard into the audio lead and play music over the air. And of course, the whole typical mud duck thing where that all started. And then I heard this guy, and in my area, and I don't know, somebody out here in the LA basin might remember a handle of Malibu Chuck. Anyway, I heard this guy, Malibu Chuck, and I heard two other operators in the LA area, and rest in peace, both of them, Big Dog and Top Dog, $1.98, $1.89. And they were in Inglewood, and I could hear them talking on the bowl. I could hear their audio, and both of these guys had good audio. $1.98 talked on I remember now after learning a little bit that he was on a White-Faced Johnson, and I ended up doing some work for Matt Yost, Big Dog, on his Viking Valiant and his Viking 500 and at his station down there. And so anyway, got to know those guys. But before I knew them, I heard them, and I heard this guy, Malibu Chuck. And this guy, Malibu Chuck, was a broadcast engineer. Long hair, wiry little guy, but he was a broadcast engineer, and he knew his stuff. And granted, he was up in the Malibu Hills, and he hit me really, really hard. But it wasn't just that he hit me hard. It was that his audio was unlike anything I've ever heard. And I was only out there for a short while, but nevertheless, I heard a lot of stations from my vantage point, and my jaw dropped. And whenever he keyed up, there was this ching, and there was this relay in his station that keyed up, and this sound and this big audio, and it was clear and crisp and loud and just bodacious. And right there, I knew that I needed that. I don't know, it might cranked up D104 to my Cobra 148 that I bought after a while, in my Messenger 175 and all that. It wasn't getting it. I needed more. And I would talk to him about it, and he sent me down these little rabbit holes. He sent me down these little paths, and each time he did, I thought that was the answer. And what I didn't realize, that he was setting me up to learn how each one of these different things affected each other thing. And so anyway, there was this constant thing now in my head of trying to get better and better and better. And that's sort of the direction I went until I took a sabbatical from radio. Then I moved up to Santa Maria and was unpacking all my junk. And I bought the hangar, and I had a place to put the stuff, and I put a quarter wave ground plane up, and now I'm back on the air again. This time, all the activity I heard was all on the bowl. So of course I tuned to the bowl, and that's where I was. And I realized, in listening to the dialogue and all that, there was competition out there. There were guys, they weren't just trying to talk and 10-4 good buddy and whatever. They were trying to key. They were trying to be dominant in their areas. They were trying to be a standout station above all the others. And I was like, wait a second, you mean there's competition here? You can excel, you can strive for something, you can go for more power, you can go for bigger antennas, you can go for more audio. And of course, with me in my head, I thought there was no limit to how much audio you could have, because I saw a paper. It was written, I think one of the publications was from SPAM, the Society for the Preservation of Amplitude Modulation. And it talked about, Don Hoisington and all these other guys talked about 300% modulation. Now, I've long since learned that 300% isn't desirable, but 100% isn't the limit either. And anyway, so I thought, though, at that time, that the more the better. So I went down this crazy path, and the modulator was born, and asymmetry was born and made available to everybody. And I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's not the be all end all, and it's an equation of the audio thing, but not the whole part. So anyway, here I am chasing audio, And I only had a small antenna. I had a quarter wave ground plane. I was on a metal roof of a building a quarter mile away from the control tower at a federally controlled airport. So, I didn't think I could do all that much. But I knew that I was doing all I could, and I was already involved in commercial broadcasting and all this kind of stuff. And so I knew what was being done, and I had a lot of equipment that I had acquired. So I had a rack full of audio gear, which I finally hooked up to my Johnson Viking Valiant. And that audio gear is what I made my debut on the Bowl with, where I first got called by Oil Can. And Oil Can told everybody on the West Coast to shut up because there was some mud duck out there that sounded unlike anything that they've ever heard before. And all he wanted to do was get my phone number. So I said, okay, fine. I gave him my phone number. I said, what is this? And then they said, there's a whole bunch of people out here on Pal Talk. You need to get in some room called Pal Talk. I didn't know what Pal Talk was anyway. And so I get the phone call to Oil Can, and I ended up talking to Doc Adams. I ended up talking to Prime Minister, and well, not Prime right away. Prime I didn't talk to until I got into Pal Talk. Anyway, they said, you got to get into Pal Talk. There's a bunch of people that want to talk to you about what you're doing to sound like you're sounding. And to me, I thought, well, this is kind of cool, but I don't have nearly the radio these guys have. What do they want to talk to me about? I'm nothing special here. I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. So I thought, but apparently it was a little something different. It was a little bit fatter and bigger and cool. And so I get in this room called Minister's House Super Bowl Bosses. And I got greeted by the very first person that I got greeted by in the room, and that was Prime. And he said, Motormouth Maul, you the missing link. What do you mean? Well, what do you mean? And so anyway, one thing led to another, and I don't, unless anyone wants to know more of the story. Basically, it was just a matter of sharing what I was doing with my station with a few other stations, and they all did it, and it all worked. But then came the discussion or the topic that you can't. That good audio can only be had because you got plate modulation. You've got a tube rig that's high level plate modulated, and there's no way you can get better than that. So, of course, being in the broadcast biz and knowing that, a lot of our transmitters that we were slowly moving towards were all solid state. It's like, well, no, the limit isn't whether it's solid state or tubes or not. That has nothing to do with it. Just like with the world of tube amplifiers, I know this is going to open a can of worms. I'm not going to dive into it, but the difference between a glass amp and a steel tube amp and a MOSFET amp and an NPN amp and a PNP amp and a whatever, none of those have any sounds of their own. So, glass sounds better than steel and vice versa. None of that. That's all malarkey. But anyway, that's not what I'm not trying to start anything there.
That's a show in itself right there.
Yeah, that's a whole show. That's another topic all in of its own, but that's more of a technical kind of a thing, which we don't need to get into right now. But anyway, so where I was going was what? So I get into Pal Talk. They said, well, you can't make this sound out of a plastic radio. And so the quest was on. I revisited the whole hi-fi audio thing with my friend Dave, who we talked about this a long time ago when I was seeking the Malibu Chuck sound, if you will. And so anyway, I told Dave what I wanted and what I wanted to achieve, what I felt were the parameters that were important. And he took that information, and as a design engineer, he designed the modulator. It was the very first time in history that this circuit was used in the form, in the layout, and in the configuration that these parts are used. And it's not patented or anything anywhere else. It should have been. That there's another story on its own. We had a counterfeiter that decided to try to patent it, so we had to prove prior art and submit paperwork to the U.S. Patent Office to stop him in his tracks, which also stopped us from being able to patent it, but who cares? Anyway, that's another story. But beyond that, so we came up with the modulator, and I got on the air, and everyone said, well, it sounds good, it's great. But Prime said, but that's good, but it's too clean. It's too pure. It's not what we want. What like a bass guitarist, when they deliberately drive their preamp stage into the next stage real hard to cause it to get rounded, soft clipping, and kind of warm and cool sounding. Well, that sound is what was inherent in a lot of the overdriven plate modulated rigs. That was part of the sound that was desirable. It's distortion, sure, but it was a distortion that everybody wanted. And so at any rate, so Prime said, well, it's too clean. You got to do something, it's not quite right yet. So I went back to Dave, and then waiting for Dave to respond, I was looking on the internet, and I decided that what I needed was something that I found that was made out of 4 diodes. And it was soft clipping made with diodes. And I would just turn the audio from my audio gear into those diodes hard enough to get them to soft clip, and then readjust the audio coming out of those going into the radio. And lo and behold, that desired amount of warmth and distortion was born. And now that's not necessary. It can be all done in other forms of audio processing, but it was something that I needed, that I didn't have, that I implemented, that now worked, and it filled the bill. So I went up to the northwest corner, and I brought the modulator with me. When I left it with Prime. I gave him the very first modulator radio that had a very first hand-wired modulator board in it. Since then, he's purchased 3 others. And so anyway, that was the direction that whole thing went. But anyway, so then along comes this is just the audio realm. This isn't trying to be anybody. This isn't trying to be a dominant station on the band. And Doc Adams, he came down here to the Central Coast. He, Master Mitch, CC, 300, they all came down here, and they were picking up a complete station that was an estate that had gotten liquidated, and those guys picked up all the goodies, and it was all in a trailer, and they all came to my place. And Doc Adams gave me a 40-meter monoband antenna, 5-element job. And when they took off, and it was great meeting them. That was awesome. I didn't realize that at the time that I met those guys, they were some big, they still are. But even Doc's not on the band yet, but he's going to come back. But they're legends. I 300, my God, CC, Master Mitch was at the hammer, a hammer that it was hard to beat. Doc Adams, he was insane coming out of the northwest corner. Anyway, I didn't realize quite that, but I realized later on. Anyway, I built this first beam, and I am still at the airport. I built the beam, but the beam got me off this omnidirectional garbage, and it put me into another realm. It was almost like turning on a big amplifier. It was almost like changing the channel and finding more people. Because the difference between vertical polarization and horizontal is like night and day, right? It's like a 30 dB difference, and there's people that you hear on the flat side that you can't even hear on the vertical, and vice versa sometimes. And so anyway, that opened up a whole can of worms. And then I realized, I quickly learned about Quick Yagi 4 from Prime. Prime mentioned that that's what he used to design his antennas. And I was thinking, well, do I buy a Skullcracker antenna, or do I just start fiddling around with this on my own? And that's what I chose to do, is fiddling around with it on my own. And so I learned a lot from QI4. I learned a lot from Prime. And then then I ended up to the northwest corner, right? And I saw Prime's station. And that was the first time I ever saw in real life a real amp, for one. But not only was the amp impressive, and everyone thinks about power when they think of Prime, and that's understandable. It's a logical thought. But what turned me on was that, I already knew that we used Omnias and Optimods and audio processing gear in the commercial broadcast business, and I knew that it was those little boxes that made one station sound different than another station. It was the trick that the engineers would not share with anyone else as to how they set their modulation schemes utilizing their audio processing gear. Wow. And in the case of some of the FMs, we were using Optimod 8100As along with like Texar audio prisms and things like that. And it was this trick to try to get louder, and the loudness wars were still a little bit, in effect while I was still doing this 9 to 5. And so anyway, I realized that Prime was using Pro Tools, which is what he used in his business as a producer and as an artist on his end, but he was using that to do what we were trying to do in what we were doing in the broadcast business. But he was using these plugins, and you can use equalizers, compressors, multi-band compressors, limiters, de-essers, noise gates, all these things. And I was like, wow, this is a whole new thing that I was not aware of. And so I saw him doing that with Pro Tools. And so that's the route I went. I also got Pro Tools, and I got this thing going, and realized then that Pro Tools was basically just a host. And of course, it's no different than Ableton Live or Live Professor or whatever. And I happen to use Live Professor now, but still the plugins, that's where the magic is. And once that happened, and once the antenna happened, then Motormouth Maul became something on the band. A little, I'm not going to say a force to contend with, because I was still relatively in the mud. You know, there were stations in San Diego that could key on me pretty much every single day. And I think they still think they can, but I think things have changed a little bit. So anyway, over the course of years, I moved here to this ranch, and now I've got, no neighbors, and I've got a real tower and a real antenna, and I've built multiple antennas between then and now, and I built a little bit bigger box, and that kind of thing, and boxes plural. And so anyway, now it's just now I'm still not going to say I'm a force to contend with, but I'm not a mud duck anymore. Close, but I'm not quite a mud duck anymore.
Mid level.
But I'm having fun. And, like I say, I prefer to referee fights than to get into a fight. I usually don't. I prefer to referee fights than get into a fight, but I like to get into a fight as well. But, I'm not quite at the point where I can always get into a fight. But I'm pretty good at reffing them, and I'm pretty good at doing the audio playbacks and all that, and giving people a little bit of something, of feedback, to let them know what they're doing and that kind of thing. But anyway, I don't know. Did I get off topic somewhere? Anyhow,
No, I'm enjoying it.
No, we're enjoying it. We're enjoying it. But hey, you did take us to the next level. I mean, we're on like page 6 right here. So what I want to do is, you talked about, you got this great layout. Everybody pretty much knows, if you know, if you don't, you don't. But, I want to go back to the beam. So because you've built several beams, and you've done so much with these beams, the Jam Pro. I want to talk about the Jam Pro. But I want to go back before that. I want to go way back earlier on. I want to go back when you were on the 3-element. Let's start with the 3-element. So you were on that 3-element. And I mean, man, you were doing great. I mean, man, there was times that I used to sit there and read the mail on you, and you would have 30 dBs in Florida, and you were talking directly into the northeast corner. Talk about from when you were on the 3. Went weird. And what made you go from the 3? Because I think you went from the 3 to what, the 80 or 90 footer, and then the Jam Pro. How did that go?
No. The 3 became a backup antenna. What happened was I built an 84-foot antenna. It was a 84-foot vertical and horizontal antenna, and that thing was on an arm that would allow the antenna to articulate at the top of not tilt, but articulate at the top of the tower. Okay. And I didn't have a strong enough motor system and gearing system to keep that antenna from falling all the way. Once it got to a certain point, it wanted to keep on going. So I went up there one day and I put a splint on it. And that splint was it kind of went over the joint, right? So if the joint bends that way, the splint was on this side of it, and it kept it from bending over the joint. And all of our wind comes from the west, and it was temporary. I should have only done it temporarily, but I let it go. And a year went by. Anyway, let's not talk about that part yet, but that was doing really well. I was able to have, it was circular polarized. It was not horizontal or vertical. It was both. And the lead and the lag was accomplished by actually staggering the vertical and the horizontal elements by 90 degrees or a quarter wavelength. Most people that do circular polarization, they'll have both antenna elements on the same plane, and they'll feed one of them in or out of phase by a quarter wave to get left or right-handed polarization. I was doing it mechanically, feeding them equally in phase, but then splitting them a quarter wave apart to get that twist. And It worked great. Everyone loved it. Everyone said it was a good antenna. And, everything happens for the best. Even bad things happen, I believe, for the best. And anyway, a year went by and a big storm came in. And I forgot that when our storms come in, well, almost a year went by because it wasn't windy yet. But when the storms come in, the the wind comes out of the south. Well, when the wind comes out of the south, it blew my antenna the other way, away from the splint. It's on this side. So now, instead of it trying to blow it over the splint, it blew it away from the splint, and then it creased. The U-bolt creased at the bottom, and when the U-bolt creased, the whole antenna came and articulated down until it stopped. And when it stopped, and one of those Newton's laws of physics, an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Well, the doggone thing came to a stop. And when it came to a stop, it broke in two places. So it was in three pieces. So down came that antenna, and then I needed something as a backup. So I built a 3-element and stuck it on a small 50-foot tower, and I never put a rotor on it. It was just a 3-element looking east, and it's still up there to this day right now. But the other thing that happened was the amplifier situation changed. So when I was on the 84-foot dual polarized antenna, I was on a 3CX 3000. And knowing what you know of me, I don't run my 3CX 3000s like most people. I was keeping my dead key right about 1250 watts, and that was as far as I'd ever dead key it. I'd let it swing like mad, and it would, plate current meter went like a windshield wiper and everything, but I did not key it real hard. So I'm running relatively low power on the 84-footer. Well, at the same time that the 84-footer came down and the 3-element went up, I also upgraded to a 3CX 10,000. And so I built that box, and it's in the same box, but just there's a whole lot of space in the box. If you saw it, you know what I mean. Anyway, so I upgraded to a 10 at the same time as I went down to a 3. Now, the 3 worked really well, and it still does. It's a kick butt antenna, and it's got a wider swath, right? The 84-footer was narrow, so I had to look here, and guess what? I didn't have a rotor on it, so I had to run out and do the rotor, which at the very end, before I switched to a real rotor that I have now, I had my Flintstone rotor, and that was a couple long ropes, and I could pull one rope and it would turn one way. I could pull the other rope and it would turn the other way, and I could sit in the studio and watch the S meter while I pulled the ropes. Okay, but the 84-footer didn't have any rotor.
You're
so I was getting a lot of cardio. I was getting a lot of cardio, and I had to move here, move there. Well, when I went to the 3-element, that 54-degree swath cut from where I am out here in California, looking due east. Heck, I could talk to Florida and New York and anywhere in between, and it wasn't a problem. Now, granted, I wasn't as devastating with it per signal, but everything that was in my radio, I talked to. And I did really well on it. So that was the progression. It went from the 84-footer to the 3-element 12.5-footer, and then it went to a 96-footer, and then a 117-footer, 16-element, 117-foot long antenna. And that thing, I had to move it here, move it here, move it here, move it there. I hated that. And now, had I had a rotor on it, it would have been cool, but I didn't have a rotor on it, and I got fed up with it. And then I decided to go backwards. I went to a 47.87-foot long 7-element, which is what I'm on now. And I also, somewhere in that interim, and I forgot where that was, probably in the realm of the 96-footer, before I even did the 117. After the 117, I went to the 3CX 20,000. And don't think that that's anything, because it's not. I'm running it at 7,000 volts, not anywhere near as much as some guys do, and I still only key it at about 3 kilowatts. So even though it's a big tube, and here's the old one, the old one died, but the new one is doing fine. The old one developed the grid.
The old one you got there looks like better than some of the guys' new ones that are out there.
Anyway, so yeah, the gain and the progression of antennas and the amplifiers were kind of like offsets. So as an antenna performed better and I had less power, that was offset by now having more power, maybe less performance. And now I've got reasonable power and good gain. So that's sort of how that progression went. The Jam Pros, you've touched on those a couple of times, Jimmy, and that was a complete flop. I only did the Jam Pros because nobody has ever built them for 11 meters before. And being a broadcast engineer guy, and that's what we used on all the FMs, not Jam Pros, but the Jam Pro style. We've used ERIs, we've used Jam Pro, we've used all kinds of different brands. But the bottom line is the same rototiller type crisscross, dipole effect, phased and all that for circular polarization. Nobody ever built those for anything other than broadcast. Even Jam Pro says they're just now, well, at the time that I built them, they were working on a 6-meter version that they hadn't let out yet. And I thought that their engineer was going to be a little bit more interested in the Jam Pro that I built for 11 meters, but they really didn't show any interest whatsoever. So I built them, I put them up, I talked on them. They were fine for local, but in DX, they were a real disappointment. And so I took them down and they're currently laying on the ground. And I got to disassemble them and save those parts for something else. But I've never dealt with a quad. I can't say pros or cons of quads by experience, but I can say I love Yagis.
When you had posted something a few years back, and you took 2 vacuum tuners and you put them in a box and you had the coax phased in there. What's going on with that?
The whole idea behind that was I designed the antenna so that it had a specific bandwidth and a specific broad. I wasn't really concerned with gain as much as I was, and I'm not even bandwidth per se. That was a byproduct. But what I was concerned about was the reactance being relatively close to zero. And then once the antenna was built and designed as such, this dual capacitor thing with motors in it was called an omega match. And an omega match, if you look at a gamma match, you have a gamma arm that has to tap the 50 ohm point on the element, and then you have a cap, whether it's a sliding cap that's built into that arm or whether it's a vacuum cap to handle more power and all that. Bottom line is you have a cap which tunes out the inductive component of that arm that's being used to tap the antenna. So that's the only reason that the gamma match is built and designed as it is. But it can only, once you get the tap point, you can only tune that cap and get one result at one frequency, and that's all you get. Well, with an omega match, it gives you the ability to basically shift both adjustments, not only the equivalent to where the tap is, but also the fine tuning of that, the equal and opposite reactance and where it needs to be. So anyway, the idea was that to have 2 motors up there. That way I could go any point on the band, because the antenna was broad. I could go to any point of the band, and the matching networks are always narrower than the antenna. For example, if you do a really broadband antenna, a broadband Yagi that's good from, say, below channel 1 to above channel 40, but you put a hairpin on it, that hairpin is going to have a Q that's narrower than the Q of the entire antenna. So even though your antenna is wide, you tune your gamma for here, or you tune your, not your gamma, but your gamma or your hairpin. But you tune your matching network for here or here or here, but the antenna will let you do all of it, more or less, if it's really, really broad, but not all of it perfectly at once into your transmitter. So my idea was, with the omega match, I could go to any frequency I wanted, channel 6, channel 28, anywhere I wanted, and then tune that antenna at the feed point for exactly 1.0 to 1 plus or minus 0 react, exactly perfect. And then that would be that was what I was shooting for. But the motors, I'm not really a computer guy, and I wasn't really able to come up with the software, and Dave was kind of busy, and then I thought, I don't need software. I don't need to worry about that. I'll just do it, I'll watch the meter. And next thing you know, the vacuum cap came unscrewed and fell apart. And anyway, I gave up on it.
You learned the hard way.
Later on.
You learned the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a precursor to another project that I want to work on. I've never built a quad. I've never had a quad, but I want to build a quad. But my quad is going to have an omega match at the feed point. It's going to have 4 elements that well, 3 elements that move, 1 stationary element, and then 3 others that move, CNC via stepper motors in the boom. And then the quad will come together, and where there's a shorting stub, there's going to be another CNC motor that runs a shorting strap up and down the element, so I can electrically change the length of the elements as well as the position of the elements in real world, and whatever matching network or whatever impedance the feed point is, the omega match will hopefully fix it, and then I can kind of sort of play with quads in that. And I know a lot of guys out there are doing quads already, and they're using EasyNeck and all kinds of software to come up with the quads. I want to see it work. I want to see it fail. I want to see it work. I want to see what does what. So someday a quad is going to be in my future, and the omega match will be a part of that whole quad thing. And so we'll see where that goes.
How do you feel like, with what you've been doing on the band, and where do you see yourself going in like, competition? Because you talk on 28, you talk on 6. I mean, you just come back. I mean, you spent what, probably 2 months, 3 months up there on 28, and you just come back to the bowl a couple days ago or something like that. Where do you see yourself
for
going?
about 3 weeks. I'm
3
up
weeks.
there for about 3 weeks, I think. But anyway, yeah, what happened was, my good friend Fireball was down there making a stand on 28, and he was making a pretty obvious statement that he was the king of the band, the king of the channel, and a motor mouth Maul Muddy Duck had no chance. And so instead of going up to 28 and having everything tuned for the bowl, I figured I would retune everything for 28. And once I retuned for 28, I figured I'm going to stay here for a little while. So I was there for about 3 weeks, and I made it pretty obvious that what he was saying wasn't exactly the case, and I'll leave it at that. Now, he's no slouch. I'll give him that. He's no slouch, but he's not all that in a bag of chips either. So that's where I'm going to leave that. Well, then I decided I'm going to come back to the bowl because I started on the bowl. I enjoy the bowl. I love the bowl. That's where I get the enjoyment. So I came back to the bowl, and so here I am again.
How do you deal with, because people, you got haters, you got lovers, you've been around long enough. You've done
I got a
acquired
lot of
haters and you've
out there,
done
man. I
acquired
hear them
lovers.
all day long.
How do you deal, doing what you do and holding talk shows for as long as you do? How do you deal with that?
A couple times I didn't deal with it so well. I got out there and I got fairly angry at a couple of the various different haters, and I'm not going to mention the handles of those that are on the bowl. There's a degree of respect for them, as much as I don't like them, and I know they don't like me, but I'm not gonna name them on the bowl. He specifically knows who I'm talking about, and I'll leave it at that. The other guy that got a little bit of my dander up was that Mud Duck in the Desert, and the way he's treating people and other technicians. I don't really care what he does to my reputation on the air. I don't care what he does about saying my stuff is garbage, doesn't work, I'm a splatterbox, I'm this, that, and the other. I don't make my living doing this. This is a hobby. I spend more money than most people make in a month on electricity. No, I'm not going to say that. I've got a $750 electric bill, and that's not all my house. I'll say that. I don't care about spending the money on the bowl, and I don't make my money in radio, period. Not even commercial broadcast radio anymore. I mean, I'm on call, but that doesn't put money in my pocket every month. That's not my job. That's not my income. So for me, if he wants to attack me and take people away from going down the path of what I offer, now I don't do a radio job for anybody. I don't work on radios. I tell people I used to offer a board. I told people what the board could do, and it's in their hands, and they can decide how they use it for good, bad, better, or worse, or whatever. You want to go buy a big old 671 blower and stick it on something and run high compression piston and throw nitrous on it and blow your motor up in a heartbeat? You can go do that. You want to run it the way a guy tells you? You can go do that too. You can take it to any level you want, but at the end of the day, it's all in your hands. So anyway, I'm not a shop, but Dave White, Derail, a whole bunch of others that this guy has gone after are shops. They do make their living in radio. They do have families to support. They do have a more investment in this thing than just some hobbyist, which is all I am. And for him to get out there and do what he does is dead wrong. And he will get out there and twist and contort everything. And I've long since not worried about how he twists and contorts and talks about me. But I dislike and cannot respect in any way, shape, or form the way he treats everybody else out there. So aside from that, there's always the haters that try to heckle you. There's always the ones that try to plug your ears. There's always the ones out there that are, you know what, they're ducks. They're jealous. It's unfortunate they've got to be the way they are. So how I deal with them is I just feel sorry for them, actually. If that's the way they're going to spend their time on this radio, you know what? 350 in Georgia put a Videogate live on Facebook just yesterday, I believe it was, talking about the people that waste their time with hatred and animosity and all this kind of stuff towards other people, whether it be radio, politics, religion, whatever it is. There are people that waste all this energy doing that. Why? It doesn't accomplish anything. You're not going to change the other person's view by doing what you're doing. And all you're really ultimately doing is making yourself look about that big. Where's a good background? About that big. and so I feel sorry for him. So the haters, you know what? You're going to hate. That's all there is to it. If you like what I have to offer, not that you have to follow my instructions, but while we're on that topic, when I help somebody, when I offer to help and give information, what I say is not the way to do it. But what I say is a recipe. And there's a lot of recipes for cookies, a lot of recipes for this, a lot of recipes for chicken, whatever. But when I give somebody help, it's an all-inclusive kind of a package deal. And if they say, well, I want to do all this except for that, and that, well, that's fine. Go do it at your own risk. But you're not going to, if you want chocolate chip cookies and you want to leave the chocolate chips out, you're probably not going to have chocolate chip cookies. So I'm not telling people how to do things, but I'm telling them how I do it. And if it works for me and they ask me because they want to do what I'm doing, by all means, I'll help. That takes us to another topic. That takes us to John DeLuna, 555. And let me tell you, he knew where he wanted to go. He was dead set on doing what he was going to do. And he told me, no holds barred, tell me what I need to do. And I realized right then and there, and I dealt with him 17 years ago. Man, we did the modulator, we did all this stuff, and he built modulator boxes, and he ran the modulator, and he did what and it worked. So he always followed instructions. He always was eager to do the right thing. And so I realized when he came back to me and said, man, I want to get out on the bowl. I want to be the biggest, baddest station in Texas. I said, well, I'll help you the best I can. Your pocketbook is your limitation, but whatever you choose to do, keep in mind that everything works as a whole package. So you can't build yourself a hot rod car and put a big old cam in it and put highway gears in the back end of it. You got to get everything's got to match up. If you got X amount of horsepower, you got to get that to the ground. You got to build your chassis and tune everything to get that power to the ground. Number one, son will appreciate that. Anyway, it's all a package deal. And he was willing to say, okay, I'll do exactly what you're telling me, but he put his cool twist on it. He's a fabricator. He's a welder. And he put his ability toward making things really clean and sano. My stuff I build for myself. I don't resell antennas. I don't sell antennas. So my stuff looks a little bit, how do you say it? Like it was done in a backyard in a garage in backwoods or somewhere. Anyway, my stuff, it works, but it's not something that I would sell. All right, you look at Prime's antennas, they're pristine. You look at John DeLuna's work on his stuff, they're pristine. You look at real stuff, and it's nice. My stuff isn't like that, but from the technical point of view and building it and all that stuff, if you follow my instructions and then add some degree of niceness to it, you can have a pretty nice product. And that's what John DeLuna did. And he ran with it, man. He took off with it. He needed power for his station, and they wouldn't give him a service. So I had his electric company's engineer call me, and I explained to him what this was all about. I didn't lie. I didn't hold anything back. I didn't misinform any. I told them what we were doing and why. And when they understood that it wasn't the kilowatt hour per month that he needed, it was the demand of power right now when he needed it right now for 5 minutes. It needed to be there. And anyway, I explained that, and they said, okay, if he's willing to pay for it, I guess we'll give it to him. And so that's how he got that all going. But anyway, that's again off topic, I think.
You know what though? You talk great about John. 955. And it seems like you guys, it's kind of like you lead me on the path to believe that you've mentored him in a way, is how I'm
I
taking
have.
it. You've kind of took him under your arm, and you've guided him because he listens, and you've been a big part with him. So I don't know if but we have John, we have 955 backstage right now. We have
Oh,
955
really?
here in the building.
John?
We got him him
Cool.
in here. We had felt like, because we ran 3 hours last time, and we didn't really give him
Right.
a proper closing. We just kind of cut him short, and we apologized for that, but we got carried away. It was a long show last time, good show. So what we did is we were gonna have you on here, and then we were gonna have him come out at the end, and then you guys
Okay.
could tell us y'all's story of how you guys met, how you guys linked up, and what all you guys have accomplished, kind of teamed up together in some of the big projects, as the viewers know, and we know as well now, what y'all have got going on. So where we at with him,
Very cool.
Mr. Daytona?
I got him backstage. You got any more questions? We got a couple more questions with John real quick.
Well,
I mean, I got so much I want to ask, man. You
Well,
know,
ask. I'm here.
what I love about one thing that I love about listening to you is, number one is your audio. All right. Number two is I drive a truck for a living, so sometimes I'm in New York, and you'll be talking to Texas, giving 30 dB in New York. I mean, it's just unbelievable what you're accomplishing, and I just want to give you kudos on that, because that's a hard thing to do when you talking to another
Well,
state.
I tell you what, I'm gonna give a little secret here. This is
Okay.
something that you know I shouldn't do this, because the nature of the bowl is that everybody keeps a little secret somewhere. That's sort of everyone's got a little something up their sleeve, and for the bettering of the hobby, and for the interest of the hobby, and for more people to try to become that much more. I don't know if the word's 10-8 or whatever, but I'm going to share what I do. And
Okay.
again, this is not the way to do it. It's just what I do.
What are your
So
recipes?
I got this. I don't run a lot of power. I keep 3,000 watts. That's it. And I can do it all day long though. But I keep 3,000 watts. So people say, well, that's nothing. I got more than that. Well, yeah, you do, but maybe not everybody's as consistent as I am. Most of what we do on the bowl, most of radio in general, believe it or not, I know this sounds weird, is listening. And if you can't hear, you can't talk to somebody. Oftentimes, a lot of stations will have a big signal going out everywhere, but they don't know who's hearing them the best. They might be in a fight somewhere, and I can understand that thing, but at the same time, if somebody gets momentary conditions from somewhere else and you don't know they're there, guess what? You're not going to give them any time of day. So what I do is I always transmit on my beam. It is my primary transmit and receive antenna. However, I've got a Dow key relay that sits right after my radio before all the other stuff. And when the Dow key relay is in the receive mode, I can choose whether it's connected to the beam, whether it's connected to the 5/8 wave ground plane, whether it's connected to the 3-element beam, or whether it's connected to an antenna, which is currently not there. It was the Jam Pros, but I took them down. So I can select between multiple different antennas, and whichever antenna puts the best signal of anybody in my ear, that's the person who I swing over and look at. So I do pay attention to what's happening all over the place. And it's this Mother Nature that causes the scenario that you explained. If suddenly, you know, I'm looking in Texas and you're hearing me in New York or whatever, I wouldn't normally be able to talk to you, but because you're hearing me in New York and I'm going to Texas, I know that I could flip an antenna switch and I could probably pick up New York without even moving the big antenna.
Wow.
And I'll usually do that. I'll make a contact and I'll say, oh, this is looking good. I'll stay here for a while. Then I move the big antenna over and look that way. So I monitor. I monitor my different receive options, and whatever I hear the best is what I'm going to go talk to.
Wow.
And if I stay in conditions when they move, number one rule, I mean, if you try to fight out of your conditions, you're going to lose. If I'm in a fight, and I'm here in Santa Maria, you know, the big heavy hitter up north, 766, he's up in Sacramento. He's 300 miles away. 300 is 100 and some odd miles away in Victorville, you know. I mean, so we're spread out by quite a bit. And I don't have the same conditions that they do all the time. They don't have the same conditions I do all the time. So sometimes some crisscrossing goes on, and sometimes we can get into a fight where we can try to work back and forth a little bit. But more often than not, that doesn't happen. So if I try to enter a fight that I don't belong in, I'm almost guaranteed to lose. And the funny thing is, the gates that are made out there, the people judge people based on. I don't want to say this too much because I know there's going to be a competition out here, and there are going to be gates, and there's going to be things. But there are gates that matter in the form of a fight, in the realm of a fight, and that is the gate made by the people at each end of the fight. If there's a side gate made, the side gate has no validity whatsoever in what really happened and where the fight went and what transpired. If the guy making the gate on one end and the guy making it at the other end were in a fight and they both posted their gates to show what happened in their radios, that shows what happened. But a side gate does not show what happened. I love side gates for one purpose. Side gates are great to let you know from a tool point of view as to whether you've adjusted your station to sound the way you want it to sound or whatever. But there's so many times I'll listen to gates that are made of me where I'm talking to someone totally not even, it's a total side gate. And people say, oh man, Motormouth Maul sounds good or this, that. Well, how do you know? You're not where this guy was over here. So gates that matter, gates that are used to make comparisons, gates that are used to see if two stations did what they were thinking they were doing, matter if they were made by the two stations involved. And unfortunately, not everybody in this hobby does water gates. Some even prefer not to do gates because they may show something other than what's portrayed by
like somebody keying that they didn't was keying or something like that.
Yeah. And especially if things are like text and telephones and things like that are involved, those things might be given away by a local gate. But with today's technology, there's no reason why people that are really in this game to fight and to compete, there's no reason why they shouldn't be doing gates.
Amen.
I had myself on mute because they told me I got the IT over here telling me I was back feeding.
Doubling up a little bit, yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy. You good?
Yeah, so I mean, you covered the antennas. We went from the 3 to the 10 to the other box, but there was an antenna that you come up with that I have never seen before. There was an antenna, and it was a circular antenna, and you ran that antenna as in a test.
Oh, you're talking about my little mobile. You're talking about the DDRR antenna.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
was a talking little antenna.
Yes, it was. I remember it well. I kept up with the videos and the kind of the ingenuity. It intrigued me quite a bit, really. But whatever happened with that antenna? What did you learn from it?
That it was a finicky antenna. There's an important thing that I learned, which I'm not going to talk about yet, and then there was the not so important part. The not so important part is that it's finicky. And that means if you tune the thing up for 27025 and you want to talk on 27035, you got to retune it. That's how finicky it was.
Wow.
If you pull up next to a chain link fence, you got to retune it. If you know, and so what I do is I ran a speedometer cable from the vacuum cap back through the top of the truck so I could reach behind my head and turn the speedometer cable and tune the vacuum cap while I was looking at the SWR.
That's
so
awesome.
I could talk on the thing.
That's awesome.
So it was goofy, but it had a lower takeoff angle than any vertical antenna. So whether it be a Predator 10K or 102-inch steel whip or any other of those, vertical mobile mount type antennas, it had a lower takeoff angle. So it didn't have any gain. It didn't have anything wow going on, except for the takeoff angle. Instead of going up here, the takeoff angle was down here. So by running that antenna, you had more energy going down, hugging the earth, or getting to a station farther away. So because of that, I decided to take that mobile to a shootout. And I took it to the Long Beach break, and I put it up against dual fighting sticks, 8-pill volted mobile, and I was running not volted 8-pill into the single DDRR antenna which is omnidirectional. And I had my PVC pipes on the truck that looked like a snorkel and a bunch of antennas, right? But in each spot where an antenna would go, I put a decoy duck. So I was just mocking the whole shootout thing. But the only antenna was just the DDRR antenna. And I ended up tying/winning that shootout. Matter of fact, I think, that was the only shootout that I went to. And so that DDRR antenna did pretty well. I wouldn't complain about it. But I ran a 2x8, and a 2x8, which peaked out at about 1500 watts, produced enough voltage to actually burn a hole through a 30,000 volt vacuum capacitor that I was using to tune the thing. And 15,000 volt vacuum capacitor. And I was given an article by a friend of mine, Chad, who was pointing out the fact that anytime you have high voltage above roughly about 12 or 13,000 volts, and you have an anode and a cathode in a glass vacuum area, no matter what frequency it's on, whether it's 27 megahertz or whatever, the fact is you're generating X-rays.
Wow.
And that antenna was on top of my head, above the roof of the truck. And the X-rays were being generated for sure, because I was running 15,000 volts at on this little vacuum cap. So when I saw the article, I decided quickly to no longer run that antenna. If I was running a 4-pill or something small, a 2-pill, by all means, there's nothing wrong with it. But at an 8-pill or anything bigger, bad idea. So that scared me out of the antenna, and I took it out of line, and it's still on the truck, but I don't run it anymore.
Right. So out of all the stuff that you've come up with, I got two questions into one. Out of all the stuff that you come up with, where would you feel? Now I know you're a humble guy, talked to you many times on the telephone, but still I have to ask this question. In the competition level, being asked this question and answer it humbly, where do you see yourself? Do you consider yourself something to be reckoned with? Do you consider yourself to be a pushover?
I'm still crawling up the ladder. I haven't even begun to really get competitive yet. I'm still trying to get everything all sorted out. I believe I'm going to have a little bit more out there than I do now, and it'll only get better. I can't tell you. I won't tell you how much better, but I can tell you I've figured out what it should be on paper, how much better. No, I'm going to tell you, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to be 6 dB better than I am now, 6 decibels, which is 1 full S unit. Maintaining the very same audio quality, the very same station that I have now, plus 6 decibels.
So you're going to be there. There you have it, everybody. Motor Mouth
Yeah,
Maul has
there
said
you
he's going
go.
to in this skip cycle. Let's get this shit. Let's hear this shit, right? So hold on now. Hold on.
We gonna
Bear
get
with
this
me,
shit.
Daytona.
We
Hold
gonna get
on.
down to it, Jimmy.
Hold on now. I got to get into this shit right here. We about halfway into this. So this man just said that he's going to be. He wasn't going to tell us, and then he says, "No, I'm going to tell
The
you.
hell with it.
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to."
tell you anyway.
I'm going to tell you anyways, whether you like it or you don't like it, the hell with you. But I'm coming back and I'm going to be 6 dB better. Okay. Okay, so we got that 6 dB better. But out of all the accomplishments and answering that question, I mean, honestly, I mean, in a competitive answer, I mean, I respect that. The viewers respect that. It's all competition. I mean, what do you feel like has been you've done so much and you've brought so much to 27.025, you've brought so much to channel 28. You've inspired more than you've pissed off, I believe, from looking at it.
I
What do
think so.
you,
I hope so.
what, no, I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure of that because I mean, people talk. I talk to people. I get around, and I mean, I know what's pretty much going on current out there, and I mean, you definitely got more fans than you got haters, but we all got them. But out of all the
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that you've done, the Jam Pro, and I was really impressed with that, and you doing like. If answer this just like yes or no real quick because I want to move on to this other thing. Were you feeding and receiving vertical and horizontal at the same time on that Jam Pro?
Okay, with the Jam Pro, yeah, it's a circular polarized antenna. So one of those Jam Pro, and there are two of them on that boom. There was one at either end, and each antenna was comprised of the two V's facing one another. And each one of those double V antennas was one single antenna. And it was fed in the center, and then it was circular polarization. So it was both vertical and horizontal simultaneously, 90 degrees out of phase. And generally, what they do on those antennas is they stack them on a tower. They put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each time they do that, it flattens the signal coming out and makes a really broad, flat donut, 360 degrees. And they save multiple bays like that for usually lower at the on a flat station. A station that's way up on a mountain peak with the city of license down below, they usually want a bigger lobe, which is going to be comprised of by less antennas, and then to make up for that they have big transmitters. But the idea was with a bunch of these bays and a smaller transmitter, you get all this gain and it's flat, so you cover with circular polarization, you cover your city of license, and you can do it without spending a lot of money per month. That's the idea of the Jam Pro in the broadcast world. And circular polarization penetrates buildings and structures better than either vertical or horizontal alone. You would get picket fencing with those. With the circular polarization, it eliminates a lot of the picket fencing. So I thought, well, why not use one of these circular polarization antennas? And so I built one, and it worked really good for a local antenna. And I thought, okay, it's great for a local antenna, the best local antenna I've ever had. Not gain, but the pattern and the circular polarization worked in my favor. Then I thought, well, I'll build a second one, and it's going to have two of those on it. I'm going to phase them so I can have directionality, and it's going to work really good in skip.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it did not work very well in skip. It was just a bad antenna for skip. So,
But you
it
stayed
looked
on it.
cool.
You
I
stayed
stayed
on
on
it
it for
for
a
a
long
long
time because
time.
I wasn't in a hurry to go. I wasn't ready to go switching anything yet.
There
So
you
I
go.
was on it for a little while, but by the time I had designed something new and pulled that out, what happened was I left it up there. It was on top of the tower. At the middle of the tower was my new 7-element 47 footer, which is what it's up there right now. And it could only go up to 36 feet because I put it on a ring rotor, which ran around the tower so I could turn the antenna while it was mounted halfway up the tower. And then I used the Jam Pro at the top to as one of my receive antennas, but I never transmitted on it anymore. I just received on it. And
Wow.
it did give me at times it gave me an edge, but it wasn't worth nearly what the headache. And now I had this bug, and I'll tell you about this too. This is something that I think everybody needs to know and everybody needs to start experimenting with. And I guarantee the results are unfreaking believable. I wanted to experiment with antenna height. And here I got a MDLP 572 US tower that'll go anywhere I want from 75 feet. 15% battery. I don't have a charger out here, do I? Maybe I do.
You're
Anyway.
equipped over there. You're Motor Mouth Maul. You got all kind of technology laying around there. You got to have an iPhone cable.
Oh, I got a cable here. I hope it'll fit the. I hope it'll reach the phone. Let's plug this in right here. I believe it is charging. Look at that. All right.
There you go.
I think
According to the computer screen back there, it says we got the little squiggly lines. We're modulating over there.
Yeah. Test 1, 2. I can see my audio back there.
Oh yeah, you guys got audio. So what happened was I've got this US tower that cranks up and down from 23 feet to 75 feet. And I wanted to experiment with skip zones or heights, takeoff angles, and angle of arrivals. So I took the Jam Pro antenna down and I put the 7-element antenna at the top of the tower, which is the configuration that I have now. And I did a few tests. I did a test with D-Rail. I did a test with John DeLuna. I did a test with another couple stations, and all the tests showed up, Switchblade, all the tests showed up that regardless of what height you're at, okay, there is no one best height, because on any given day to any given station, the ionosphere is going to be charged at a different height. So depending on what it's charged at, the angle of incidence equals angle of reflection, like a pool table, right? So it's either going to come down here, or it's going to come down short, or it's going to come down far, depending on where that's charged. So the takeoff angle and the angle of arrival that you need for the best performance is going to be different based on the conditions. So with all three of these tests I mentioned and more, it turned out that I could go from as bad as 2S units less, 2S units, not 2 dB, 12 dB, 2S units less or 2S units more, and anywhere in between. And with D-Rail, it happened not only at one spot, but it happened at two spots. One at somewhere around the 50 some odd foot mark, and one at about the 63 some odd foot mark. And he was the one raising and lowering the antenna. On the other tests, I was the one raising and lowering the antenna. Now, imagine what would happen if not only did D-Rail raise and lower his antenna to achieve that 2S unit peak, but what if I did too? So if two people were in the right skip zone and at the right height to optimize takeoff angle, you now have a gain in your system between your two stations that nobody else has.
Wow.
So that was the whole. And so when I took down the Jam Pro antenna, what happened was now my 7-element antenna that was tuned at 1.0 to 1 SWR is now, I'm seeing like almost 200 watts of reflected power coming back with 3,000 watts going forward, because I took away the Jam Pro and there was mutual impedance going on. And as long as the Jam Pro was there and it was tuned in that environment, everything was fine. But once I took the Jam Pro away, even at 36 feet apart, vertical separation, I still had a mismatch now. So I got to retune my antenna, but I'm not going to, because there's some other plans in the works. I think John DeLuna mentioned them the other day, but I got a freestanding 70-foot tower and another tower, and this one's going to have a hazer on it. It's a tower that was made for PG&E. It's all solid tower. It's not tubular. It's a monster killer tower. So anyway, I'm going to put that up on a hazer with a winch and the whole 9 yards, and I'm going to build a 80-foot or plus optimized antenna specifically for gain and 27025. And then I'm going to retune. That's part of this little plan that I tell you about in the future. Anyway, I'm going to retune this antenna I have now for 28.
Yeah,
so
everybody.
The antenna I have now will be on its own big box, and the antenna that I'm going to be putting up is going to be on its own big box, which is going to be bigger than this big box. So the standalone channel 6 station is going to be a whole lot more bodacious than what I'm on right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's where the 6 dB's coming in. Now you're not going to do anything with amplification in the building or anything.
Oh no! Amplification is going to get better too.
He said that he's going to get a bigger box.
Yeah, a little bit bigger box and a little bit bigger antenna. So combined is going to be about 6 dB.
Hey, real quick, Mr. Motor Mouth Mo, we're going to have fun with you for a quick second. before we get
All
Mr.
right.
John 955 here. I'm gonna ask you 10 quick questions, rapid fire, right off the dome. We're just gonna have fun with it, man. Whatever you hear, just whatever comes out the top of your dome, just whatever comes out. All right. Let's see.
All right.
Hard liquor or beer?
I plead the fifth. No, I don't drink.
You don't drink? All right. Fair enough.
Coffee.
Pizza. There
Colombian
you go.
roast,
Okay.
medium roast coffee.
That's a good answer right there. How about pizza or hamburger?
Pizza.
All right. Forward swing or backward swing on your bird?
Forward.
Yagi or quad? I know we got into it a little bit, but
Yeah. I've never had a quad, so I'm going to say Yagi, but one of these days I'm going to see what this whole quad nation thing is all about.
up to right now to this point, a big antenna or a little antenna?
Bang for the buck. I hate to say this, a little antenna. I mean, this is going to be a little longer than a yes or no answer, but just as much as Mother Nature can take a dB away from you, and you can build, let's say you build a 3-element antenna and it's got a dB gain of, I don't know, 9 or 8 or something, 8.5 or 8, whatever it is. And you got to go to 11 dB to get twice the ERP, which is the same as leaving the 3-element in line and going with twice the amplifier power to get 3 dB more. That 3 dB is in a particular direction, and Mother Nature can move from here to there in a heartbeat, and other people can have conditions that move as well. So in my opinion, if you want to have more bang for your buck, you're better off sacrificing that 3 dB and having the bandwidth, and not bandwidth, the beam width of a smaller antenna. And power is, I'm going to say this, that there are a lot of people out there that don't want to spend a dime on CB radio. You've seen this hobby. You've seen people, I mean, some of these guys run stuff that are duct taped together and everything else, but there are people out here who are willing to spend money too. Yeah. And you can pick up that 3 dB and amplifier pretty doggone cheap.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to say overall coverage and blanket with a smaller antenna and more power is going to be more beneficial than small power and relying on dB gain of the antenna.
That's a good answer. So you rather, another quick question real quick, would you rather have a big driver for what you're doing or just a small driver?
Enough driver to have more than you need. In other words, like my 3000 is my driver. I've got a 20, I'm keying in at 3000 watts. Why in the world do I need a 3CX 3000 as a driver? Because the same reason that I got so much crap when I first built my first 3000 box. I didn't have a good driver for it, but I had another 3000 kicking around. So I low tap that other 3000 off a different tap off the same transformer, and I ran that other 3000 as a driver. And I only drove it hard enough to get what I needed out of it to properly drive the 3000. Now, granted, I'm running both filaments. You got to run 50 amps on each one for filament current. So it's a waste of power on the input power. But at the same time, it was what I needed to get the job done. Now, anything more than that, as long as you don't use anything more than that, I'd rather have the headroom and know that I got it than to have too small of a driver and push the snot out of it and then sound all pinched up and tightened up and everything else. See, I want to sound like, when I got my amplifier all the way on, I want to sound like I'm barefoot. Just freaking big.
Good answer.
I got one. I don't think Motor Mouth Maul, I don't think he liked that rapid fire. Hey, so out of all your accomplishments, out of all your builds, out of all the things that you've went out and us as guys, we go out and we shoot the shit out in the back 40 or whatever, and we put shit together and we try things. Out of all that stuff that you've done, what has been the most enjoyable and the most blessing that you've seen come out of, hands-on stuff?
I'm going to say from my own equipment point of view, I'm going to say my 84-foot dual polarized, circular polarized antenna. That was probably the single biggest bang for the buck enjoyment, enjoying the process of building it, enjoying the process of designing it, reaping the benefits of it in the real world. I would say that was probably my favorite build, my favorite thing.
Right, and I got something right here. Do you do all of your designing? I mean, you sit down at the PC and you come up with all the
Yep.
engineer stuff behind this, and you put all your own stuff together.
All my amplifiers. I build my own drivers. I build my own big box. My pre-drivers have always been farmed out. My favorite pre-driver was my Skullcracker SC500 that Prime built. My current pre-driver is a Messenger M400. No, M400. Yeah, it's an M400. No, M500. Messenger M500. 42879s. I've used other drivers, but they're all none of which that I built the pre-drivers. So I built my own drivers and I built my own big box. I built and designed all my own antennas. All the audio, the whole routing, the complete everything here is all my own.
Right, right. Well, we got to keep moving here. So we've covered a lot of bases. Motormouth Maul. I mean, you're a big card. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. You're a big card. You got a lot of energy. You got a lot of knowledge, and you've done a lot of stuff. And you've brought a lot of stuff.
Well,
to
I sure enjoy the hobby, so it
273025.
makes it easy when you enjoy what you're doing, and for a hobby, it makes it really easy. It's the best hobby.
Right.
I've done cars, I've done guns, I've done fishing, I've done you name it. I'm a licensed ham radio operator. Guess what? I don't even talk on ham radio. I don't even really, quite honestly, care about ham radio. I mean, I'd like to eventually someday get involved in the 75 and 80 meter or 75 meter AM stuff, 160 meter AM stuff. But I haven't made any real steps to modifying any of my transmitters for that. I've got a bunch of old broadcast rigs that would be really great for that project, but I've never gone that route. CB radio is just so darn enjoyable, and it's really it's a blast. It's the greatest hobby. I've met awesome people out here on the hobby. I love getting the hands on. I like helping people. I get calls. I don't know how many. I can't tell you how many phone calls I answer and get every single day, and I enjoy it. It's fun.
Good stuff. But hey, listen, we still got your friend 955. We got him hanging out backstage. Yes. we can't forget it. But hey, right? Because I want to bring him out here. We both want to get him out here, and
He'll
we
look
want
like
to hear
this if
about.
he waits too long. Who can all say?
Hey,
John, how you doing?
There he goes, right there. Hey, see, he didn't fall asleep on us. Hey, but listen,
I almost did, but I keep hearing all these stories about, as number one son would put it, John's getting a little bit of boom envy over there. So he's got to get back to a big beam.
So tell us, John, we talked to you after the last show, and we apologize. We had 3 hours last time. We got carried away, and we just didn't feel like we closed right with you. And we wanted to bring you back and get you back in here. And I wanted to hear the side, 413 wanted to hear the side of where you and Motormouth Maul linked up, became friends, him more or less mentored you and you mentored him maybe towards in some fabrication. I think this is how I take it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like y'all swapped ideas, you being the fabricator, him being the engineer. I think y'all have learned from each other, believe it or not. I mean, what do you think? Am I close? Am I off?
I would agree.
More times than what probably anybody would care to believe, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get linked up, and take us from where you linked up to where you currently stand right now between the both of you?
I don't know. I'd have to say somewhere around 17 plus years, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I just basically, I heard John out there. We came back to the whole story. Somebody put Big Boss as the man. Well, he better set it up.
711 Golden Numbers said that. He's stirring the pot.
Let's give 711 a shout out while he's up in here. Hello, 711 in the Bahama Islands. Welcome to the show.
Going on, 711. Let them know I got a big spoon.
A big spoon would you feel comfortable saying a big spoon that somebody's possibly gonna eat one day, or what?
That's it. I'll do it like little children back in the day. Here's the airplane. Here it comes.
Damn.
Currently now, Motormouth Maul, I'm not going to leave you out, but I got to hit 955 real quick. You do realize that currently you are the only owner of the biggest Ghost Rider to ever be built, bar none, right?
Correct.
And it's going to Texas.
That's correct.
So I don't want to get off subject or whatever. I want to stick straight to the subject. I mean, I want to know how you guys linked up, what you guys feel between both of y'all, what y'all have accomplished together as a team, mentoring a team,
Well,
and
a long
kind of where
time
y'all
ago,
stand.
there was a guy out here named Rickety Bones. He wasn't on the bowl really. He was more of a 28 guy, but Rickety Bones, I got wrapped up with him because he was going to start assembling modulators. I didn't have time to assemble them and put them together and get them out there. And not everybody wanted to put their own modulator board in a radio. So they needed somebody who could put together the box and wire it up and do something. And then Rickety Bones kind of got, rest in peace, he passed away. He died of, I believe, pancreatic cancer. Uh, roughly almost a year ago. So we didn't leave on the best of terms, even down to the point where I wouldn't accept Facebook requests because he tarnished the name, the Motormouth Maul name, so poorly, so badly. We got on CB Tricks showcase, with the modulator and the whole bit, and one thing led to another, and he was chiming in like he just bought a modulator and he's commenting about it, and then somebody brought it to everyone's attention that it was his IP address that did it, and he was acting like somebody else, and it wasn't the kind of sales gimmickry or technique that I believe in. A product sells itself on its own merit, and that's it. You don't have to hype it up. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to make believe. You don't have to bring anything to light that isn't true. Anyway, so things went south, and John DeLuna, being a hands-on guy and fabricator and all that stuff, he filled that position. He started. Oh well, the other thing, Rickety Bones started selling complete systems and charging ridiculous amounts of money, and anyway, it just got bad. So anyway, when 955 stepped in and started doing what Rickety Bones was doing and assembling these boxes for people, he was reasonable, he was quick, he did beautiful work, and everything worked. And so it's like, what more could you ask for? And so that's sort of, and then I helped him with some audio stuff to some degree, but then he ran with it. He took the audio session and he created something that worked better for his voice than what I created. Right. And so, yeah, it just, and that was 17 years. All that was, a long time ago. And then he took a break from the radio. And when he came back with this whole idea to be the man in Texas, I thought, well, shoot, man, I'm going to help him the best of my ability. And that's sort of how, we have mutual interests in the car world, in radio world, in general, in engineering. We like to bounce ideas back and forth. And, like I'm building something, I'm doing this tower and the hazer for the tower. And I can't describe the weirdness of this tower, but I can say that the knuckles are quite a bit larger and the bases and the tops of each section are quite a bit larger than the actual tower itself. So to create a hazer that's going to go over those places and go up and down, he ran around some cool ideas that I'm going to utilize that were courtesy of him because of his engineering and fabricating expertise and creative thinking. So yeah, we bounce stuff back and forth and work well together as a team. And when it came to building his antenna, his workmanship, second to none. He took the specs, he took the length and the spacing and the details of my feed and the tuning. And he took that and he polished it up and made it look like gold. I mean, that's what he does. And it's just his attention to detail is meticulous. And I like to see that. So I thrive on watching that. And anyway, that's sort of how it has come and where it went to.
So how do you feel? So how do you feel like, you mentoring him and him listening to you? That's a big plus, especially, an older guy helping an up and coming guy. How do you feel about what he's already accomplished, since he's been on the bowl and where he's going with this 3-tuber coming
In
down?
the short time he's been on the bowl, not even a year. Has it been about a year, John?
Right about in the past couple of weeks has been right at a year.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone go from one extreme to another extreme, basically building an entire station. He built the studio. I told him the importance of keeping the noise out and all that stuff, So he built a studio like mine. He built one room for the studio, one room for the transmitter, double wall glass, the whole 9 yards, And he did that. He did the amplifiers. He did everything and just put it together in no time flat, really. I mean, the power source, the service, the electrical service, I've never seen anyone do so much in so little time and not be tapped out. I mean, he's still
This guy
got his
tapped
feet
out. This
going
guy
up the
can't be
ladder.
tapped out. This guy can't be nowhere near tapped out. He's building
No.
a 100,000 watt water cooled. I mean, this thing is in the up. Not only does this guy got the 315s coming to the table in Texas, this guy's got a 100,000 watt amplifier coming to the table in the build right now. What do you think about that?
Yep, that's pretty doggone impressive. I know he's got some good people in his corner on that build. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience. I have some theoretical help that I can give, but obviously I nor anyone that I know has ever done anything like that. But there are some people that have come close, and there are people who also have really good thinking minds in that realm. Like Prime, BBI. BBI is super helpful. Prime is super helpful. Jimmy, I think you've got some input feeding into this thing. I know Daryl may have, Ghostwriter may have some input going to this thing. So I think he's got a lot of great people in his corner. And I think he's got the resources to pull, both financially and technically, I think he's got the resources to make it work. So I don't see any reason why this thing won't get out there and just sail like it's supposed to.
Right. The biggest thing that I see with a lot of people is, and there's probably a lot of this in the band, is when there is a person that's able to do something of this magnitude, all they ever bring to the table is their pocket. And that's been
he's a hands-on guy, and that's another thing that will separate John from a lot of other people. Is not just does he want to accomplish this end result, but he wants to get his hands in it to get it there.
Right.
So he's basically getting the knowledge as well as putting his hands on and funding the whole thing, the whole project.
Yep,
correct. Definitely, he's definitely. I mean, listen. I mean, I remember where John was. I remember where John came from, and to see John currently where he's at now in Texas, I mean, he's come a long ways in a short amount of time. Yeah. And him himself, he's got his lovers and he's got his haters. That's just how this game rolls. You got the text. You got the text over there. Everybody's texting. Everybody's talking.
Yeah,
you got haters. You got lovers.
Let me see what I can pull up over here real quick. Let me see. I ain't gonna show it.
I don't think I can see any of the chat.
There go. Golden numbers with a comment right there. He said you got to beat Big Boss. What'd you say about that?
That's been
Did
done.
you read it?
That man said that's been done. I heard it. You heard it.
There you go.
All the viewers heard it.
What proof has John heard in his radio?
I'll tell you what. When I get the pleasure of hearing 955 and Texas in general in my receiver, I've got water gates that I posted. Unfortunately, I don't put names on the gates, but if you got a date, you can go look at it. I've got receiver full. I mean, full of 955. He sounds
bodacious, man. He's got one of the cleanest sounding stations, big old hammer.
Oh yeah. It's not all about it's about the hammer. It's who gets over the top of the mess. But when a person can do it with that fidelity and that openness and that full sound, it adds something. You have to give credit there somewhere, somehow. And there are a lot of times where I'll have two stations that are right side by side signal strength wise. And one of them's got narrower audio and one of them's got big fat audio. And I'm not going to get into it. The hams, and everybody will argue that it's the thin, narrow, tinny audio that gets through a pileup. But
somebody go get
I got headphones, I got ears, and I got receivers and speakers over here. And when I hear big, fat audio, I can pull that mess out of a pileup better than the nose pinch, tinny sound that some guys say is supposed to be. And if you talk to the hams, they're all going to tell you communication quality, narrow band audio will win every time. No, it doesn't. So I like to hear the bigger stations. Correct. And it's not just that I like to hear, I hear the bigger stations, my ears. So, like if you take Big Boss, if Big Boss got together with me, I'm sorry, John, but if Big Boss got together with me and said, I'm going to follow your recipe for some audio, Big Boss would be bigger and fatter than he is now.
Right.
He's not maxed out. Forget the power. He's not maxed out. And I think a lot of people forget that. They think, oh, I need more power. No, you don't need more power. You need more energy into the curve. Again, we're back to drag racing. We're back to finances. We're back to everything in life comes down to this idea of energy into the curve. And, you can have a lot of horsepower and no torque. You're not going to get out of the hole. You might have a great top end on the salt flats. You can have a lot of torque and no horsepower. You can spin your tires and maybe not have a good top end in the back on the back into the quarter mile. But it takes energy into the curve, and audio and the distribution of the energy in the audible spectrum that we're dealing with, and that fat energy into the curve, that is what AM is all about. Power is one thing, and you need the power to get across the street. But once you get across the street, you need to have something there to work with. And that's where the audio comes in. So, I think, I would just to breed competition. I mean, heck, I don't think John would mind, but if I could work with Big Boss, we can get Big Boss some audio too. But John's got some stuff up his sleeve that's going to be pretty outrageous. I mean, you see what he's doing now. It's going to be insane when he's done.
Right. I know that there's quite a few people said that needs to be, I need to do this, I need to do that. I'll make sure to put that on my list to send them video gates.
Send them a video gate. Hey, the competition. We got the competition out there now. So just send them a damn video gate.
Correct. And that's the thing is and anybody can tell anybody, I come out there, I'm respectful to everybody, to a certain degree. We can say hi and we can do this and we can do that, but there's been many times I've even said it on Watergate. My station wasn't meant for shaking hands and saying hi and checking on your mama. It was built for dropping a hammer, period. So I'll heard it. I'll tell you hi, ask you how you're doing for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to put it on your ass.
Yeah. Well, y'all, hey, everybody heard it. 955 right there. He said,
there it is, right there.
Station built for dropping a hammer, not checking on your mama. I like that shit right there. We got to change mama to mammy, though. You got to put that street term in that shit. You got to leave mama at the house. And the mammy, you got to put mammy in there. Yeah.
Get mammy over there.
Boy, y'all wild as shit, boy. Y'all get y'all together now.
But that's the biggest thing is I love the competition. And John will tell you, there's times where I get frustrated. And John can probably vouch for this. I've been probably one of the single-handed most stations that can stay in his radio for hours upon end.
Yep.
We get bored talking. I'll lock channel 6 down coming out of Texas.
Many, many, many times have we both mutually decided to let the channel go because we knew that a lot of people that were going to get mad that we were tying up the bull. And I get that we're not fighting, so it's not as interesting to a lot of people on the sides listening to this thing. If there was a fight going on and he and I were trying to beat somebody else on either end of our, if there was a fight, maybe it'd be a little bit more entertaining. But he lost my radio, and you got to talk to your radio.
Right, you got to talk to your radio.
There's times I've done that to guys in Hawaii they could probably vouch in the comments. Guys on the East Coast, you know, John on the West Coast, anybody, you know, I get out there and it's just like all of us. We want to chase the fight, or we want to chase some part of the entertainment out there. You know what I mean? And if you go out there and you start dropping the hammer, and all of a sudden there is no competition, you know what I mean? It gets bored. I get bored with it. So then I love to listen. I sit back, I listen to John. I listen to a lot of beautiful stations out there. And I've been known to be an asshole sometimes, and somebody else is having a QSO, and I'll just key up and, you know, tell them, you know, you had so-and-so on your radio.
So,
you know?
John, if you're bored now doing what you're doing now, what the hell are you going to feel like when you get the 315s? What the hell are you going to feel like when you get 100,000 watt?
I've always heard it say it's lonely at the top.
If you're lonely at the top now, I mean, you're going to take 5 steps ahead of where you're at now. So what's going to change?
The title. That's the biggest thing. I'm still.
So if I ask you straight up, do you want to own Texas, bar none? You say yes or no.
Yes, sir. Bar none. Period.
Yeah, he gave you a period at the end too.
That's. I mean, it's really not a question. It's not really much of a deal. I mean, there's no explanation about it. There's no if I'm gonna do it. You know, you let me know where you need to sign my name on a check. You go cash it. That's what's happening.
Now let me ask you this question.
It's getting good. It's getting good.
So you get this station, you get these watts. What you're currently running right now, you've got somewhat of a window that you pay attention to with condition. Now answer this yes or no. When you get this 100,000 watts out there on the band, do you feel like you're going to just be able to just go out of your condition and grab somebody?
I can honestly. So this is where I kind of. It's not something that I disagree with John, because I've had to run my station harder than John has ever had to. I still, and John can say this too, like, for instance, John's at 3 kilowatts and he still stays with tremendous amounts of headroom. Just like him, I run a way overkill driver. You know what I mean? I'm running a 15 in line, and most of the time my driver is either 2/8 or 4/8. Who the hell needs 4/8 as a driver? You know what I mean? So everything stays loafing. But the difference is I've come to set an example. I've come to set a point in being that what I'm doing. So I can't sit here and run my stuff along like John's doing. So I have had to push the envelope. I have had to push hard. I mean, we know that. I mean, you know, there's been many a times John's caught me out there. You know, I'm 12,000, 15,000 RMS pushing forward, you know, 42, 46,000 forward. You know,
not to cut you off,
irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Not to cut you off, but where you currently are right now, without the 3-tuber and without the 100K,
right?
Do you feel like there's competition in Texas? When you go out there and you spike the mic, do you feel like you have to, you know, reach and grab it from time to time, or do you just feel ease?
No, correct. I never. And then John could probably back. There's several times. Just the other day, John heard me out there. I guess I was on the ground plane. You know, probably a few thousand watts out there. I was out there on my ground plane, and actually testing some audio and testing some gremlins that I had running around in there. They multiplied, and so we were getting that squared away. And but yeah, hell yeah, so when I come out there, I'm never going to be the person, hey, I'm on the driver. Let me hit the big box. I don't ever come to.
I never do that either. I'm either on or off. I'm.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in that first, second, third gear stuff.
Nah, yeah. I mean, I hit one switch and everything keys, and that's the thing that people don't understand. There's no mistake in my station. You'll never catch me with an excuse, and nobody's ever caught me with an excuse. I didn't key, or my amplifier didn't key, or my big box wasn't. You know, there's none of that. I hit one switch. Everything keys. I don't hold anything. I sit back and do me some talking.
Okay. Well, Motor Mouth Maul, when you see, you know, your protege, and he's talking, you know, I mean, in he's speaking what he believes. You know, for the viewer's point, you got some viewers that believe it's bullshit what he's talking, and 50-50, whatever, however, you know, you got a lot of guys that they're going to say he's just talking right now, but say he does go out there then do this. What will they come back and say then? You know, so how do you feel being that he's sitting there, he's telling his story, he's pretty confident in what he's doing and what he's going to set out to do? How do you feel about that?
I think he's going to accomplish what he sets out to do. I think that, I mean, granted, there's always, I don't care how much power anyone runs or how much antenna anyone runs, there's always going to be a time where Mother Nature leaves you hanging. But your chances, his chances of he's bettering his odds by a tremendous amount. And there's a point, you know, you talk about the point of diminishing returns, and you know, let's say you're running a 20 and you're going to go to a pair of 20s for 3 dB. People will say, is it worth it? 3 dB. Well, what I told John, and sometimes it doesn't, it's not always what I abide by 100%, but more is more. And whether it's the point of diminishing returns beyond that or not, more is more. So he's going to better his odds. And mathematically, if you look at the power and the differences, and I guarantee he's got the service to run what he's going to run, the benefit is going to be there. It's going to be noticeable. It's going to help him out a lot. Is it going to make him absolute king all the time, everywhere, in all conditions? No. But is it going to make him significantly better than he is now? And you all see what he's doing right now. It's going to do what I believe he thinks it's going to do.
Right. Okay. Well, I respect that. Let me wake these viewers up over here on the side. Let me see how much of the viewers in the show still paying attention. So if you guys believe that John DeLuna, 955, is coming to the bowl to do what he's sitting on the show saying he's doing, put a 1 up. Put a 1 up if y'all guys believe that 955 just ain't sitting here in here talking shit. And the guys who don't believe it or can't understand it, put a 2 up. Let's look at the poll right here. We got to get y'all ready for giving us some names here at the end of this QSO anyway. So I'm seeing a lot of 1s, 955. I'm not seeing too many. I don't think I've seen a 2 yet. I'm not seeing no 2s. I'm seeing all 1s.
It's hard to argue with the fact that more is more. I mean, that's a guaranteed statement.
Pimp put 2. Pennsylvania Pimp put 2.
Pennsylvania Pimp.
Yes,
hey, Pennsylvania Pimp. I heard Pennsylvania Pimp today. Man, did he must have changed radios, because he's got that. I think he's on a derail radio now, and he's got some audio that was blowing me out of the. I was listening. I had the volume turned up today on these big old 15-inch two-way stage monitors, and he was rocking and rolling. Man, he sounded good.
Yeah, man, them guys from the Northeast corner starting to come out the bushes too. But next, gotta get ready. When let me put it this way: when the Texas region down there, Southwest comes out, that's where we're gonna see some real heavy hitting stuff going down.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how ready.
Hey, I got a question for you. Off topic, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You know, we're talking about these regions. California's got some heavy hitters in it. And these heavy hitters range from Southern California, Central California, and Northern California.
Yeah.
Is California all one region, or is California getting broken up into a couple regions?
What you think, Jimmy? How are we gonna do that?
I'm gonna just keep it 100. I'm gonna break California into 2 different regions.
Because I can't hang with 766. He's gonna put the ball on me no matter what. I mean, he's a big hammer. I'm not out here to key on him, but I know that I can't. Nothing I do is going to put me on top of 766. Our conditions are different places, and he's a devastating. There is no way you can take anything from him. He is flat out devastating. So I don't think no matter what I do, I don't think I have a chance to beat 766.
The problem with 766, because you said earlier that you were going 6 dB. You coming back with 6 dB, so you ain't got no problem
I've
with
seen him key over
766.
me. I've seen him key me out over 6 dB already since I've been where I am now. So I don't know. I mean, I take him occasionally, but usually what happens is our conditions crisscross. We don't really get to talk to the same person at the same time.
Right.
But
Okay,
still,
well, you asked
he's a force to contend with.
you asked. So I'm gonna put it out there, but this is all I'm gonna say. California will be broke into 2 different regions. I can tell you that right now. So that's
Only
all.
2. Okay.
I'm not going to do what you did earlier. I'm not going to say,
Well,
hey,
that means
this and
I'm
this,
in,
and then
okay.
come back.
Well, then that means I'm in trouble with 300.
I'm just telling you, we are planning on breaking California into 2 different regions.
Got 1 hit in there too. You got 1 hit.
Yep, you got BJ 1 hit out there, man.
1 hit and 809.
Yep.
1 hit and 809. Oh, and 245.
Well, let me ask both of y'all that. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Are both of you guys planning on running in the competition when it comes time in your region?
I suppose so. Why not?
955?
He put money on it. Look at that.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
He put money on it. Damn, Jimmy, you slow, Jimmy. Jimmy, you slow. He put money on it.
I couldn't see it because it had a little blur over there on the corner of the camera for me. But a little squirt, he done called me out. He said I said something about Jay or whatever. But so, hey, I've been up 14, 15 hours already. So if I start slurring, hey, it is what it is. Excuse me.
Don't forget 63 on the west side, I'm telling you.
63.
Oh,
63.
yeah. He's a tough one. And he's 100 miles
Juice?
east of me. So going east, Juice is a tough one too, but he's Northern Cal, so different conditions again, you know. He's up in Redding. But 63, oh my God, he's a force to contend with for me.
Absolutely.
Yep. Juice, 12 in the valley.
809.
12 in the valley is a force to contend with. Yep.
Let me throw this out there for 63. 63, man, he came, then he went away, but when he came back this time right here, if anybody knows radio and you've been paying attention to radio, he come back, he wasn't bullshitting, man. I'm telling you right now, his game got better. He stepped his game up 20 times. The way he was hitting, the way his whole station. So he is something to be reckoned with.
He was up there learning on the hand bands.
You know he's in the room, right? You know he's in the room.
That's fine. He called me later.
I can't see him. But hello, 63. I don't see him in the room because I can't see the comments. But hello, 63.
He's here.
63, just in a little bit, he's going to be, hey, Jim, seen you mowed your grass over there next Tuesday.
Hey, is that how, hey, real quick, just off the record, is that how they talk on the hound bands, like 80 meters, 40 meters? Is that how they do it?
Yep.
Yeah, well, you see, I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning, and I think I've got pancreatic encephalitis, and I think I've got to. That's how they talk on the hand band. The Geritol band, there, man. It's a Geritol group.
We come back to CB. We're talking about we're going to go ahead to the pill pusher.
No. I bet you Doc Adams ain't too far away. You gotta ask Doc Adams how they do that. They're great.
Yeah.
Doc Adams, yeah.
Is he in here?
I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him.
Fat Man would know.
Yep. The man with boom envy.
You gotta look for Pat.
What is it?
Okay. Pat.
No, I don't see him in here.
That's him.
Pat McAtee.
Well, I tell y'all, you know, so both of y'all say when the regions come around, y'all are gonna, you know, jump in that and y'all are gonna run.
I'm getting ready for that right now. I mean, I don't know when my time is up or my turn is to burn, but John knows what I'm doing, so it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
Well, I tell you, it was good to get you back up in here 955.
Correct.
And put you next to Motormouth Maul.
Right.
And you know, just see how y'all had gotten hooked up. It gives the full story now versus bits and pieces, you know, from our talk, this talk, corner store talk. So back around the table now we see how you guys linked it, how you connected, how you bonded, where the mentor started, where the listening stages took place. So it straightened a lot of stuff out, you know.
Correct. There's a lot of listening on my end. I mean, when I ask John a question, when I first get on the phone with him, I give him all of my concerns, and then I just shut up and listen.
For Roger on the list.
That's a smart thing, because a lot of people, you give them advice and they'll listen to you, but won't really listen to you, do their own thing, and then they want to know what went wrong. Just like the correlation you said, Motor Mouth, all about giving somebody a recipe, and if you forget you give a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, you don't give them the chocolate chips, it's not gonna come out the way you explained it. So.
I like the conversations. I've had a lot of conversations on the phone with Prime, and some conversations on the air, but a lot of them on the phone with Prime, for example. And it's not either one of us telling each other how to do anything. As a matter of fact, I know I don't ask him for specifics about, how he sets his plugins, or that he'll share, I found a plugin that does this, but he won't specifically say how and what. And I don't share specifically how and what. And we talk about some antenna design ideas, and we talk about radio in general, and amplifier design, all kinds of things. We share stuff back and forth, but we don't get into the telling each other how to do it kind of a thing. It's not sharing a recipe. It's just it's food for thought that we both, I think, grow from. And I've got a lot of input on my thinking and how I do things from conversations I've had with Prime. I had input from BBI that was super helpful. I had when I was building my 20, as a matter of fact, I had not enough ground, and I didn't realize quite how. I mean, I realized, but I didn't implement, or didn't really fully appreciate how important grounding the grid was. And I've done what I did on everything else, but I came to that one, and I explained to him some troubles that I was having, and he said, "Well, what's your ground situation look like on that thing?" And I told him. He goes, "Dude, no." And he showed me a picture of what he did and how many grounds he had, and I just did that one thing, and suddenly everything was fixed. So I mean, there's a lot of sharing, give and take. There are people that are big in this hobby that are willing to help and share. But I think there's an approach that is admired, and that approach is, I don't want you to tell me how to do it and hold my hand all the way. I want you to help me learn to think about how to figure it out for my own kind of self. And there's that's what it fuels the hobby. It fuels the interest. It fuels progression, but it's not holding somebody's hand all the way through it. They're your mentor. I look at BBI, I look at Prime, I look at a whole slew of operators that mentored me in this hobby. I come from broadcast engineering. We don't build and design boxes in broadcast engineering. I fix them at 2 a.m. when they go belly up and the smoke comes out. We got to get them back on the air by drive time, but it's fixing something that somebody else designed and built. And you got to figure out some way to make it work. But it's not a design process from the beginning to the end. It's maintenance. It's whatever. So when I get into this whole thing was like, one big website. I don't know if it's fair to give out a website. I suppose it is, right? A lot of what helped me out, and if anybody out there wants to build their own box, and I highly recommend that you wrap your head around it, be very careful, respect the high voltage, take precautions, but look at a website called W2DTC. He's a ham, northeast corner, and he has got some beautiful amplifiers, pictures, schematics, and things that will get you down the path you need to go to, and understand and wrap your head around the stuff in a very simple way. And if anyone's got any, John, I pointed that website out to you. Did you find it helpful?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things. That's another thing. I mean, there's so much knowledge that John's given so many different people.
Oh yeah.
There's opportunities that, and I can say this honestly because I've been in three-way conversations. I've been on the other side of the fence. I've been anywhere in between of the time that John has taken out, the absolute time that John has thrown away, that people take bits and pieces of his knowledge and just walk off and talk to the next person.
Yeah.
And so many people want to wonder why I do what I do, why I sound the way that I do, why that I'm going to build this station the way it is because of just kind of like a tribute. to MMM. You know what I mean? That's why I tell them this is a giant MMM design station. Period. I built everything, yes, but my inspiration came from John. You know, point blank, bar none. And that's the statement I always make. You know, people get mad. Half the time. If there's people out there, they think that I don't do what I do on the bowl. It may not be in their radio at that time. Some of these people may never even have heard me. But anybody that knows that if I've ever been in your radio, you know that I'm in your radio.
Well,
if
you
not,
know,
at the time, you know, canceled out other stations with just a dead key. You know, I try to replicate and I try to show my respect with my station as much as I can towards John.
but you know, you got guys that'll hit you, man, with some sly shit. You know, you ain't been here long enough to be 10-8. You ain't went through this. You ain't went through that. I heard all them stories. Let me tell you something.
Getting them
I
right
look at
now
it
in the
like
comments.
this. I look at it just like this. If you come to the bowl and you're 10-8, can't nobody say shit. I mean, it just is what it is. Now I understand there's guys that come to the bowl and they ain't got no QSO game. They ain't got no skill set or what the lingo is or what's vibing or what's popping, but they'll get it. They'll get it, you know. It can be gotten. If you want something bad enough, it can be gotten. But I've also
I'm
learned
trying
this.
to work on my game. You know, I've had a little lesson from Crack Carter. I had a little.
Here we go. We gonna get into shit now. Can I get up and get another beer? Because this is gonna get crazy. I'm gonna get up and get another beer.
Listen. What I like about John giving you the help is that, and you're willing to listen. See, a lot of these young guys coming up, they're very, very prideful. They just want to do it their own way, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you giving him props as a mentor is cool. You know what I mean? Because you actually listen to what he's saying. But to you know, like I said, there's a lot of people that are very prideful and learn the hard way. There's nothing wrong with doing that either.
I'll tell you what,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Daytona, you know, you said that just as well. And you know, I've seen a lot of technicians and met a lot of people that do throw knowledge out there. They throw enough to get you hooked, but not enough to get you in trouble. The thing is that John will give you every ounce and bit
That's awesome.
of knowledge to make you succeed. Now it's just your decision if your ass is going to sit there long enough to listen, or if you're going to be a decent human being and do everything that someone says. And they all of a sudden they have to understand is you have to put faith and you have to put trust into someone like John to be able to get return. And a lot of people are willing to put their all into someone else and hope they do the right thing with it.
Right.
For sure.
There's a lot.
One thing that I do that I try to point people in is, you know, I'm a believer in forward swing. I'm a believer in envelope growth. And there are multiple trains of thought along this whole thing. There's the envelope growth guys, which is like the broadcast school of engineering. Then there's the CB big hammer kind of school of thought, which is, you know, crank that carrier all the way up as high as you can and still be able to get some volume or some audio out of it. And then there's the other school of thought, you know, all this crazy swing, or the fourth school of thought, which the hams really think is great. And that's the key, everything you got, and then modulate downwards. And if you can create a sine wave, everything looks hunky-dory. But the problem is the receiver's not looking at just that. The receiver needs to see growth in both directions. It needs to see growth going down and growth going up. If you're maxed out and all you can do is go down, your carrier doesn't go up and down. It's just going down, down, down. If you do that, it's going to swing backwards. And your talk power is more important than that last. Let's say you take it to one extreme. One extreme is, we'll call it broadcast technique, where you key up 1/4 of what you peak, and your PEP is going to be roughly 4 times greater than your carrier. Well, if you go the other extreme your peak is the most that your amplifier can do, right? Your peak is way up here. Your carrier's down here. If you put your carrier all the way up to the peak, that's only 4 times more. And 4 times is only one S unit. And that one S unit is enough to get you maybe over somebody else by a little bit. But if you don't have the energy in the sidebands, a smaller station underneath you on the same frequency with more envelope growth is going to get detected and followed by the receiver better than the big dead carrier.
You're saying
So
too
if you're
much.
talking about conveying
You're saying too
information,
much.
it's better to have envelope
He
growth.
gone, man. Let him go.
You're saying too much. You see,
Let him
explain
go.
too much.
Oh, that's true.
You let too many
Hey,
secrets
go
out
ahead.
the bag.
I gotta
John.
respond. I gotta respond to one of the guys.
I tell you, I can let a whole bunch of secrets out of the bag.
And they wonder why I'm doing what I'm
Area
doing.
under the curve, envelope growth. Yeah, big blanket versus anyway, no, we'll
Not only
we got to
not
leave
only
something
that
for
they're
somebody to
turning the
experiment
signal
with.
For sure.
I want to respond to one of the viewers, a guy named Tim Anderson. I think that's who it was that said that it's passed already.
Pinto bean.
He says, you know, something about why you got to have swagger to talk on the bowl. You don't have to have swagger. You can be a boring ass operator and do whatever the hell you please to do. You know, but
Yeah,
when
I
I
do
say
fine
have
out there.
swagger and bring swagger to the bowl, I'm talking about bring some kind of talk game. I mean, if you want to keep it break 19, go to channel 19. That's where the truck drivers hang out. Because when I came to the bowl, now I'm not putting myself in this, but I got to put myself in this because Tim put me out there. So if you want to be boring, be boring. If you want to be entertaining and you have an entertaining or an inspiring mind that can take off or an imagination, then do that. There's nothing wrong of doing that. But when I came to the bowl intrigued me because of the talk. You know, a lot of people. We're gonna get into that another Tim. We're gonna get into that another talk show. But that's a deep talk. I can go a couple hours just on that right there. I'm done.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have big hammers out there and repeat the same thing over and over and over. But there's nothing wrong with that because they're out there, they put their time in their stage. Everybody's different. If everybody talked the same, it'd be boring, in my opinion.
Right.
If everybody talked the same, it'll be just monotone and boring. Everybody has their own character. Everybody has their own different, station, the way they run it. The way John runs his station, somebody else may not run it like that and think they've running it better. So that's what's good about the Super Bowl is the diversity of how you run your power, how you talk, and how things are on the bowl because that's what makes it good.
Correct. But I think a lot of that even comes to, like I said, go back to technicians and this and that. And some of these guys won't tell you everything there is to know because they still either want to have their person in their corner or them theirself if they talk on the radio. They don't want someone else to be bigger than them. They don't want somebody else to have the advantage over them. They don't want to have the edge. They don't want to tell all of their secrets. And I can promise you that with almost 90% of the people on the band being operators, being technicians, they always try to keep some tricks, some secrets in their pocket.
Well, they're always going to keep something behind closed doors.
Correct. But if that's
So are you wondering what secret I'm keeping under my sleeve?
No, I mean, you already know I got quite a few of them that I already know are figured out.
You know, the last time you were on the show, you made mention. I remember things. I got a mind. You made mention that you and Motormouth Maul have something going on that's current. I guess big ideas,
that's
big
the project
plans.
that I let out of the bag. The 70-foot tower and the big beam, the cut to frequency 80+ footer that I'm going to be putting up. That's
Okay.
a commingled project between John DeLuna and myself.
So that was it. Okay.
That was the project.
And it'll be just designed by John. All the machine work,
Hardware and
all the hardware. So from what I brought to Texas, as far as that being, we'll basically, John's going to max it out more than mine, basically, but basically bring that to the west side. Bring one of the best built beams to the west side. Period. bar none.
Yeah.
Are you guys willing to share, like, any dB gain that these antennas that you've put together? Y'all willing to?
I
Is that a
don't
top
share those
secret or?
numbers because there's a reason, and there's too many different programs out there. I think Prime would back me up on this, and several other users of QY4. But there are other programs. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but the other programs give you different numbers, and they base the numbers differently. So when you give out a number on QY4, it usually doesn't make somebody go, wow. It's usually not very impressive sounding. So I try not to share numbers like that because the first thought from most people is, well, gee, I got a Joe gun that's, half the length that does twice the dB gain. So, I don't want to go down that. And plus, dB gain is a small part of an antenna. Gain, how an antenna works partially is gain, mostly is feed point and all the attention to detail at the feed point, and then followed by bandwidth, and then of course if you want to throw in things like rejection and all that. But there are too many things that work together in an antenna to feel comfortable sharing what makes an antenna work best, I think, with the public. I think when you get down to an actual operator and you find out specifically what they're looking for and you build the antenna for their needs, and they trust in your build, I believe that is that's the best I can do. I can't share numbers without getting into knowing somebody's going to one up you on something because they got some other numbers from some other program. It's an argument that you'll never win.
Correct.
Well, go ahead now, 55.
No, John's correct on that, but there's a lot of people. I've got messages out the ass over here myself, but the cat's out the bag as far as John's antenna. That's gonna happen. Right. I've got a busy summer. Put it to you that way.
Okay.
To say the least. Okay. First off, stuff's actually going to be leaving, going to California to 2 spots.
Okay.
And then 1 in the northeast corner. So I've built 3 80-foot plus beams.
Well, I remember you said something about the northeast corner. You got big things going on in the northeast corner.
Right.
When is that going to?
Oh yeah.
When's that going to close up, you think?
The beam is done. Beam is done, and I've got one of the biggest, baddest towers that I've ever seen in my life.
I'll vouch for that.
Sitting at my property. I think you've seen it one time, Jimmy.
Yeah. We're gonna hit a hard right. We're gonna hit a hard right here, right now.
Do a 90.
Jimmy gonna hit a hard right. We need to go right now. But okay. Well, man, I tell you, man, this is, this thing kind of, let me tell you how let's re-loop this right here. This thing went in and Motormouth Maul laid down a format. He put a platform down of who he was, where he was, current. And I mean, then we got around the round table and started joking, then come back out here with you. And then you can see that, things just loosen up and things just start to just free flow. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you forget that there's viewers, you forget that you're on camera, and it almost just becomes like one conversation of just, trueness, and it's just like we've been doing this forever, but you learn so much off these shows, man. It's a blessing to have y'all here and be a part of this with us.
Did the viewers have any questions that burning holes in them or that they want to get out there? Or
yeah, if anybody got any questions, hit me up in the comments. I kind of monitor the comments. Go and give them some questions. But yeah, getting back to what Jimmy said, to touch on that, besides the technical glitches a little bit that we're growing, this thing is growing. You know what I mean? This is John must have seen a comment over there that he liked. But besides the technical glitches and stuff, we wanted to have a feel of just hanging out. A couple guys hanging out, talking radio, talking, like your past and how you brought antennas and your modulation and your audio and all that, which is very interesting. So that's what we kind of we geared towards, just to have a whole bunch of guys that hang
Well,
around.
let me say one more thing while you're talking about the audio and the modulation and all that. One of the ways that two of the ways that I judge whether my audio is getting close to where I think it's going to be decent is one, I monitor my audio on 3 different receivers. So I'm monitoring it on a stock radio, I'm monitoring it on the SDR, and I'm monitoring it on my Drake. And occasionally I'll use the 7300, but almost everything sounds halfway decent on the 7300. So I monitor on 3 different receivers. And then multi-handlebar box. I don't know what that is. At anyway, hey Josh, I don't know what that is. So I monitor on 3 different receivers, and then I'm also looking at the scope, and I'm looking at the average percentage of modulation. When I say scope, I mean REA. And so what happens is I'm able to see how often the peaks show up on the negative peaks. And I'm working at different frequencies and different audio processing schemes to try to create a louder sound in my ears while minimizing the amount of flashes I see on REA on the negative peaks. And I because of the Fletcher-Munson curve and the way the ears work and where loudness is perceived, there's a fine line between what sounds loud in your ears versus what sounds full and rich. And I'm trying to bridge that gap between full and rich, which I think is important to me, but also loud, which is important when you're judging this guy keying up versus that guy. How come that guy sounds like he's in the mud and this guy sounds like he's 10-8 and big? So that's what my criteria have to fit both of those things. It's both the average percentage of modulation and loudness, and also sounding full and rich on all 3 different receivers. And so anyway, just that throws into the whole audio thing. Without getting into the audio discussion, it gives some people who might be interested, because harder.
That's a good question.
Oh, yeah, we already discussed that there, Todd. Hey,
whatever that question's come up probably about 6 times. How can they want to know?
Okay, so off the audio topic. Hey, off the audio topic and onto the antenna topic again. So a shorter antenna obviously is going to produce less gain. So if you want the ERP, you're going to have to make up for it in amplifier's power. So if you've got the service and you've got the amplifier, by all means, I believe that it's better to sacrifice a little bit of boom length to get the blanket and be a bigger devastating signal on the band, provided you've got the power and the amplifier to get you there. If you're going to rely on the amplifier to get the ERP, but you want to run a smaller box because you haven't got a big service, or you don't want to run a big tube or a big box, however you get there, then I believe that the big antenna is not the answer. Now, if you're going to run a lot of power and run a big antenna, and you're looking at specifically one person, obviously you're going to have more ERP. But if you're going to say in a ballpark kind of a bang for the buck scenario, I believe it's better to put a lot of money into an amplifier and a power and service and run a slightly smaller beam. Then you don't have to worry about wind loading. You don't have to worry about your rotor having a hard time and all of that stuff. So, I like big beams, and I think big beams and big gain is good. And what are you going to do once you got an amplifier that you've maxed out at? You need more gain. If you want more gain, there's only one way to get it. Stack 2 of what you got, or make a double long boom and get your 3 dB that way. But so yeah, I would say the smaller antenna with more power, but it's going to come. And Mother Nature can take, if you get a bigger antenna and you pick up a dB or 2. Mother Nature can take that away just as fast as she can take away power you buy or get from an amplifier. So it's like 6 to 1 1/2 dozen to the other. I don't know.
Now you're gonna have weed over there with a damn 3 element. That's all I need. That's just what I needed. Having weed down there with a 3 element. Hey, somebody.
That'll get me back.
Well, at least that way, when he's looking at the northeast corner like this, I think it was this morning, man. He was talking to the northeast corner, or was it yesterday? And I couldn't get in his radio for nothing. At least if he got a 3 element, maybe I'd be able to talk to him.
I get a chance. Fat Man asked, how much does an 80-foot beam cost-wise? You could.
Well, that depends on how you build it and design it. It can cost $1,500 or $2,000, or it could cost $6,000. I mean, if you no holds barred and you do it like John DeLuna did, you're looking at almost a $6,000 build. And that's I mean,
my 80 plus is
that's
about
not
8
a
grand.
joke. It's not fake. That's 1/8 inch wall thickness, 3-inch box tubing. It's all EIA flanges. It's all EIA cable termination for the feed point. It's all the machine parts for the elements, the welding, the whole in this antenna design style. The elements are welded together, all the one piece. The elements are welded to the machine brackets that go on the boom, and they're welded to the boom. There's no unbolting or bolting or changing, or it's all a one piece antenna. So I mean, you can easily see how that could cost. Labor ain't cheap, parts ain't cheap. It can cost a fortune.
A lot of people
Bang
don't
for the
even
buck. If you spend 6,000 versus 2,000, is one going to talk better? Probably not. But pride in workmanship and having the best of the best with the workmanship to go with it.
We've went through.
It is what it is.
It adds up quick. I've had people approach me. I've probably got 8 grand tied up in my antenna.
Wow.
Is
that just the antenna itself, or is that rotor tower and everything involved?
No, that's just the beam.
But you got one of them big USA towers, don't you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Motor drive 572 HDX.
So what's the weight on that beam? 955.
About 375, 400 pounds.
So Ron 25 with some,
Wow.
I don't know, some 1/8 cable ties in the backyard. That ain't gonna cut the mustard, is it?
That's another talk. Everybody wants to be the hype of big beam. Let me tell you something. A big beam is not for everybody.
That's right.
A big beam is not for everybody. A big beam is work. The few people that have been to my station, they get there and they get DX happy. Oh man, so and so's over here in the northeast corner. I hear so and so in California. You're not going to go turn that damn thing like that.
That's right.
You need to make up your mind where you're going to talk, face that thing up somebody's ass, and put it down.
That's a good word.
And then from there, if you got somebody in California, and if you're trying to work the West Coast, of course you can rock that beam left and right. That's one thing. But you're not going to take an 80-foot plus beam and swing that thing left and right all day long.
Unless you got some ropes on it, right, John?
There's ropes. You can't.
Flintstone technique.
Yeah, you can't even own a beam that big without tie-down ropes on it.
Right.
See if anybody got any other questions. You got anything, Jimmy?
Every evening, you know what I mean? You got to rope that antenna down, secure it. If you start getting some winds, let the tower down, make sure it's secured. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the next project, John. I'm waiting for a stacked pair of 80-footers, side by side, horizontally polarized. That's what I'm waiting for.
And that's another thing, people, like we talked about cost, and you talked about that, John. A lot of people don't even understand. Jimmy will know. People don't even understand what an 1 5/8 EIA flange cost. Let alone there's 1, 2, 3, 4 just on the boom.
Yep.
Wow.
That's $720 to $750 a pair.
Wow.
Oh, the craftsmanship, I mean, hands down. I mean, my background, my
you
trade
can buy
is
China
welding and
for
fabricating.
almost
I'm gonna tell you,
a third of that price.
Hey, Motormouth Maul, I called him straight up. I called him. I was like, hey man, I said, I'm coming straight from the welding background, myself, fabricating background. I said, bro, you put some work into that bitch. I said, man, you skilled set that thing. I said, when you
see the work
that,
he did on his 5/8 wave. Heck, he did the same kind of welding and the same kind of work on his 5/8 wave ground plane. That shock wave is insane.
I've seen a many of beams. I've seen a lot of fabricators in the many years that I've been around it. I'm 42, and I'm telling you, I've been around the game since I was 15. I've seen a lot of fabricators come and go, and I'm gonna tell you something. That dude right there, hands off. I mean, hands like straight up. He can really make some good stuff. I mean, he can put it together. Yep. Take him a little time, but the quality is 100%. It's worth the outcome. So, good job, bro. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed that one out of the park.
But there's a lot of
well, it's like my antennas, my 96 footer, and the 117 footer both had components on it that I didn't make. I used Prime's antenna boom element to boom clamps that he's got. I had to V he had them cut for 1-inch elements. I'm using 1.25-inch elements, so I had to put V's instead of circles, notches for the elements to go across. So I modified them a little bit, but I used Prime's element to boom clamps, and my gosh, they were 10 times nicer than anything I've ever had in the past. So, the workmanship and the right parts and the right fit and the right makes all the difference in the world.
Correct, 100%. And I know, like I said, when we get done with John's, and I told John this too. I mean, I told him when I come over there, the other two guys, if they want me to say their names, and I'm pretty sure people know where the northeast corner is going. Those beams that are going to go to these people are something that a lot of people will never own in their lifetime. And like John's, I told John, John's built numerous beams. He's built more beams than what we've talked about on this show. And had help in. And I told him, and I think we had this conversation a couple of days ago when we started talking about the antenna. And again, I told him, go back to the drawing board and make this like you're going to build your last antenna. This is the holy grail. This is the best that it could possibly get. Because if I'm, not just me, my time and energy, but I want this thing to be a work of art. So if I'm going to make a work of art, I mean, put your all into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
John prides himself on being able to design these antennas, be able to build it. Well, make it the baddest of the baddest.
Baddest of the baddest.
Yep.
You hear that, Mr. Daytona? The baddest of the baddest. These guys, man, let me tell you
They
something.
ain't playing.
These guys, man, 955, I told you, man, we brought you back because we really felt like that we didn't get a chance to give you a proper closing, man. Kind of cut you on the short end. But I'm going to tell you something. We got you back up in here tonight. You and Motormouth Maul, you guys, man, together, y'all are something, boy. Y'all are a full deck of cards. I mean, to the viewers, to 413, to myself, man. But I'm going to tell you something. We're coming up on 3 hours. And we still got to get over here, and we got to. Yeah, time has flown, man. Your time has flown, And we got to get back to these viewers because we got to get these viewers real quick. We're not going to take y'all off stage. Let y'all chill for just a second. Let us work into these viewers real quick. We got to hit this before 11 and get what do we need? 413. We got to get 15, 15's the number. We need 15 candidates coming out of the northeast corner. So we want you guys over here in the viewer section. Give us what you said, two names per person.
2 names. Yeah, just come up with 2 names from the northeast corner, and then we'll tally it up. I'm gonna tally it up probably not tonight because it's been a long night, but tomorrow I will tally up all the candidates, and I will have it on the Big Hammer Show on Facebook. I will have all 15 candidates lined up. So you guys just post who you got. I know it's you did it in the beginning of the show, but you could go ahead and do it again before we close the show as well.
A lot of people keep asking where the beams are going. I don't know if y'all want to know or you want to keep that for a separate deal or what.
With the what?
Where the beams
you can put it out there. I mean, if them guys don't mind, I mean, if you're going to put it out there, just go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah, no,
I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you.
Right.
We just asked the questions, brother.
We just asked the question. You answer the question. That's all.
So one will be definitely going to Motormouth. The second would be going to Money, going to the Voice, northeast corner.
Lord have mercy.
And none only than one other person. Y'all definitely need to get on this show, and that's Bullet Bob himself.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. Let me ask you this. Is Money pissed off that he ain't already got that beam up now? Because, I mean, I don't think he needs it. I'm just one person, one mouth, right?
No, we talk all the time. And you know what I mean? And, man, that is one phenomenal person to work with. I can tell you. That's another person beyond someone like myself. Now, if you talk to the Voice, when we talk, even John, like when he came to John and he's like, "Oh, I want you to design an antenna." He had some plans. John looked over it, and he asked, what does he do? How much is this going to cost? There was no bat, no eye. He sent John the money. John got to work. We've got the design plans. Same thing with me. He needed a tower. He went and found one of the baddest, U.S. military towers I think that anybody could find to try to put into what we do. In a matter of talking about it, he makes it happen. You know what I mean? So, same thing with Bullet Bob. No, everybody knows that, Bullet Bob's
top notch.
Bullet Bob is amazing. Hold on. What does Bob say? Look that way.
Hold on. I
Here,
got
they
some
drop
right here.
these.
Yeah.
Get back over.
Bob,
I got you.
Here.
Yep.
I got you right there.
Yeah,
Man,
so
we over here
Right.
doing negotiations for them guys and transport and everything. Look at this.
Correct.
See?
Yeah.
Oh man.
We do it all over here, man.
Man, hey, right now, I'm over here. I'm networking off the chain, man. I'm trying to see what these viewers are putting over here. I want to see about this northeast corner because we got to get these. We got to get these names. We got to have these 15 folks.
Yep.
Because come Wednesday of next week, we gotta be on game point.
Right.
If not, we gonna have some upset folks. We got to be dead on our shit when it comes to this right here. Because we want to guarantee these people that they've got a fair chance at this.
Well, hey, John, hey, 955, what you could do is you could comment who you want, your two nominees in the comment section.
Right.
If it's a Motor Mouth Maul, also, man, what you hear over there on the West Coast, you could just put two names in the hat whenever you get a chance. And, man, two guys, man, can't say enough good things about you guys. Appreciate you coming on. Jimmy, what's up, bro?
Hey, man, listen, like I done said it probably 6 times this whole show, man. These guys right here, when 955 got out here, man, it just kind of set us into another playing field. Motor Mouth Maul, great job. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, your busy week.
Hey, you're welcome.
We got on with you. We made sure everything was a success with the Wi-Fi and all that. I thought we had a problem, but we got that straightened out and got you up in here, and we made the night. Great topics, great layout, man. I mean, you bring so much to the bowl, and if people don't know or they didn't know, now they know for sure about what you really do, what you're about, and what you stand for as who you present yourself.
Right.
On
anybody,
27.025.
for people out there, people
Very
coming
cool.
up, people coming up, and I'm sure John won't even mind, but people need somebody to look up to, you know what I mean? And the people that don't have anybody, they don't need to be afraid to look up to someone like John, you know what I mean?
Right.
John is one of the most humble person as far as knowledge, as far as an open book, as far as learning. If you want to learn, I mean, there's a lot of guys. If you want to learn, the book is open. It's your willpower to want to learn.
Amen.
And that's where I'm at in this.
Yep.
I mean, you can ask John any kind of knowledge that John tries to even talk about, meaningly or not, or mentions it. I ask about it because I want to.
Right. Well, hey, I tell you, you guys just y'all laid it out there. The viewers know we learned a lot. Myself, I learned a lot. Look, later down the road, later dates, we'll get a recap. Get you guys back up in here. I want to do a recap with Crack down the road. Yeah. Crack was the one to get in here. First show, Crack Carter up in here, and he kicked it off. And I was going to ask you something, Motor Mouth Maul. Man, I don't know what in the hell you have planted in Crack Carter's mind. But, man, come to Pow Talk. Just take 5 minutes out of your busy day and come to Pow Talk one day, man, and pay Crack a visit, man. Come sit down and have a conversation in Pow Talk with Crack Carter and me.
Stir up shit. You trying to stir up shit, man.
Just think about it. I got to leave that. Hey, we've done so much. We've accomplished so much tonight. Just don't promise me, but just say you'll think about it coming into Pow Talk and me, you, and Crack Carter shooting the shit around the table in Pow Talk. So, hey, man, it was a pleasure to have you guys both on here tonight.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
Salute y'all. Have a good one, man.
Have a good evening. All right.
Hey, Jimmy, man, another good show, bro. Another good show. Can't say enough, man. Man, this is becoming like a marathon every week. But hey, go ahead.
When I get off this PC, man, I feel like I done played football out in the backyard with the kids or some shit, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
man.
good show, no
It's
doubt
some good
about it. Hey,
stuff.
we learned something, and as long as we learn something, you know, you got a lot of guys. Some guys put this in there, some guys put that in there, some guys say that. Hey, listen, this is how the game is played. You know, this is what we do. If we can get something out of this and learn and learn who the operator is and behind the scenes, then it's a plus in my book as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, man. They bring so much to the game, man. You know, Motormouth Maul with the audio and 955 coming out, man, making guys go see their technician. Bottom line, man, he said it straight up. A lot of guys on the bowl, if you want to keep it real, they'll keep everything secretive. Like, what you run? You know, a little something, something. This guy telling you what he gonna do. So I got to give him props for that. Motormouth Maul, what can I say, man? Just the king of audio, man. That's in my book. Every time I hear him, it's just got a smooth
love him or hate him, straight up. This is no bullshit. This is facts. You're hearing it from me. You're hearing it from our show. Love him or hate him, he's something to deal with.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
He ain't no pushover. 955, love him or hate him. What he's got right now, he's purring out there. He ain't no mud duck. He ain't no pushover. Absolutely. What he's coming to the band with, he's going to be something to deal with. It's just what it is.
Yep, and all eyes are going to be focused on the West Side and in Texas the next couple months. That's for sure. I know I will. I'll definitely be looking out. But hey, man, I want to put this up there real quick. Give the guys in the Hawaii shout out. Big Island Hawaii meet and greet on March 18th. We will have our boots on the ground over there. Mr. Postmaster out of Australia is going to be 12, and he's going to have a live feed over there, which is going to be a cool thing. So shout out to the guys over there in the Big Island, Hawaii. Shout out to the Yezu Doctor. So check out his page on Facebook, Keeping the Yezu 101 Alive. He works on 101, Paul Harrell. Great guy that works on Yezu. That's all he works on 101s, 101Es, 101 EXs. Just a great guy to deal with. Make sure he sends you a video, whatever repairs or anything he does to you, Yezu. Just gotta give him a shout out because he got my radios. You know, our radios doing really well. So
shout out too to 144 on the sand pile, man, with them trams and them Browning, them Mark IIIs, bro. Unbelievable yes, job yes, with them old radios and bringing them back to life.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, I'm glad you reminded me.
Shout out to him, guys.
Matt B is a great guy, and he's a great tram guy. Got Swamp Weed smoking over there down on the south side. So
the
shout out to
man that gave me my name, Billy Ocean. You see him right there, Billy Ocean, Jimmy, my man.
Let me see Billy.
Shout out to Billy Ocean for being my longtime friend.
Hey guys, right now we're getting ready to sign off, but in a quick 30 seconds, do me a favor again, put your two nomination. We're gonna sign off, man, because it's been a long night, it's been a marathon, and we'll see you. I think we're gonna do it next Wednesday because I got some stuff going on. So we're gonna schedule. Usually we're gonna do it every single Friday, but this Wednesday we're gonna have to make an exception. I don't want to miss a show, so I'm gonna push it back to Wednesday so we can get the results in for the 10. We're gonna have the 15, and then we're gonna vote down to 10. So that being said, you guys all have a great night. Love y'all, man.
Get it
keep
in.
That head down. The guys in the northeast corner keep bringing it, because man, it's some fire coming out of there, and I can see it. We're watching, and remember, guys, it's not all about the water gates. We're watching everything. So y'all take it easy, take care, keep that hammer down, and we'll holler next week.